Chapter 880. Yi Wangran picked up this third master of the Shao family, and stood up. This third master of the Shao family was called Shao Luoyu. His real cultivation had reached the martial saint level. He was the leader of the Shao clan's team this time. At this moment he was held in Yi Wangran's hand in humiliation. His face was purple and swollen, and he wished he could bite his tongue to commit suicide. But he couldn't move at all. Fifth master of the Shao clan and the rest didn't hesitate. They stood up and followed closely. Fifth master of the Shao clan was very depressed. He was a senior expert of the Shao clan, and was of the same generation as Yi Wangran. Among the same generation there was naturally a ranking system. But in the clan he was also an ancestor-level figure. Otherwise wouldn't the Shao clan be in a mess with so many fifth masters of the Shao clan? This fifth master of the Shao clan was called Shao Zhen. His cultivation wasn't any weaker than Yi Wangran's. But now he didn't know what was going on at all and was confused. This time, when the Yi clan suddenly attacked, the Shao clan was forced to fight back. They were already in a muddle. It wasn't until seventh master of the Shao clan woke up that they more or less understood what was going on. Since the Yi clan had sent Yi Wangran, the Shao clan naturally had to send Shao Zhen. In this way the two clans were evenly matched. And Shao Zhen also knew that although the Shao clan was furious about seventh master of the Shao clan's injury, it wasn't to the point of being irreconcilable. So Shao Zhen knew very well this time. Big clans always needed to train their soldiers. Presumably the Yi clan also thought so. Since they came, everything had indeed gone according to their plan. Both sides fought with real weapons, but they weren't fighting to the death. Instead they seemed to be training their killers. The killers of the two clans kept attacking and looking for opportunities. Although there were deaths, it didn't matter much. How could there be no casualties in the martial world? Even if they were sleeping on the bed, they might even die if they fell off the bed. But now Yi Wangran directly rushed into the Shao clan's camp while shouting. This made Shao Zhen extremely furious. Everyone knows what's going on. Why do you have to be so agitated? Besides, you said that the people who were fighting in the sky just now were from the Shao clan. I also wanted to say that they were from the Yi clan. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that the person who fought with you in the sky was definitely not a supreme martial artist. But with your supreme martial artist ability, you've been entangled in the battle for such a long time and still haven't taken him down. In the end you even chased him all the way to our Shao clan's camp. Do you, Yi Wangran, think that we're all fools? Shao Zhen followed closely behind Yi Wangran all the way. He secretly made up his mind. If Yi Wangran doesn't give me an explanation for this matter, I'll definitely be punished. He absolutely could not let this matter rest. Yi Wangran galloped all the way and arrived at the Yi clan's campsite in less than 10 minutes. He looked down from the sky and instantly shouted. His internal organs felt as if they were burning, and he almost fell from the sky. He cried out in pain, "Shao Wu! Look at what your Shao clan has done." Fifth Master Shao glanced over and was instantly stunned. His scalp instantly went numb. The Yi clan's campsite was in a state of chaos, as if a great battle had just taken place. Among the 200 or so people, there were more than 100 who were lying on the ground, rolling and screaming in pain. Some had their legs broken, some had their arms broken. There were all kinds of strange injuries on his body. On the side there were 8 people lying quietly. These 8 people were all stained with blood. They were all stained with blood, and anyone with a discerning eye could tell that these 8 people were definitely not alive. Yi Wangran roared. He flew down like lightning. What's the matter? The person who came up was the Yi clan's 4th master, Yi Wuxian. He was limping, his face was full of blood, and his arm hung weakly on one side of his body. His face was full of resentment. "Elder, it's done by the Shao clan." This sentence made Shao Zhen and the others who came down after him tremble. They were stunned. We did it? Did we do it? Yi Wangran's face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. He tried his best to suppress the anger in his heart and asked in a low voice, "Wuxian, how are the casualties?" Yi Wuxian looked at him in a daze. Suddenly he burst into tears. He wailed like a child and tears flowed down his face. Yi Wangran's heart sank. "Say it. Wuxian is dead. Wuxian is dead." Yi Wuxian cried like a child. "Elder Wuxian, he was killed by 2 people in front of me. Ah." He thumped his chest and stamped his feet. "I tried my best to save him, but the people who came were all saint-level experts, or even higher. If we didn't fight desperately, I'm afraid I might not have survived." Yi Wangran's heart skipped a beat. He grabbed him. "Are you sure it's done by the Shao clan?" "Absolutely," Yi Wuxian said loudly with grief and indignation. If I'm lying, I'll be struck by lightning. Although those 3 people tried their best to cover it up, the autumn wind and autumn rain sword is the signature of the Shao clan. Although they tried their best to cover it up, they couldn't hide it from my eyes. As he said, he knelt on the ground and kowtowed repeatedly. Elder, please take revenge for us. Wuxian. Wuxian's body hasn't even turned cold yet. Yi Wangran suddenly turned around and looked at Xiao Zhen. Fifth Master Xiao, what do you say? Facing Yi Wangran's blade-like eyes, Xiao Zhen couldn't help but take a step back. He hurriedly said, Brother Yi, I can guarantee that this matter is definitely not done by our Shao clan. Xiao Zhen knew that if this matter was confirmed to be true, they would be in big trouble. But before he could finish his sentence, he heard a cracking sound. His body couldn't help but tremble. He stared at the sound. He saw that third master Xiao Luoyu, who had been held in Yi Wangran's hands all this while, had his neck softly tilted to one side. There was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. His face was ashen and he was no longer breathing. Just like this, he was held in Yi Wangran's hands like a broken cloth bag. Xiao Zhen suddenly raised his head and looked at Yi Wangran. He shouted furiously, Yi Wangran. He never thought that Yi Wangran's means would be so resolute. Yi Wangran looked at him coldly and didn't retreat. His left hand was still holding Xiao Luoyu's corpse. He shook it and smiled sinisterly. Then, in a very interesting voice, he gritted his teeth and said, Xiao Zhen, do you feel heartache? Do you feel very angry? Do you? Xiao Zhen gritted his teeth. Yi Wangran, do you want our 2 clans to fight to the death? Yi Wangran shook his shoulders and made a fearful expression. I'm so scared of you. Then he suddenly put on a stern face and gritted his teeth. Xiao Zhen. I'm so scared of you. I'm so scared of you. Xiao Zhen's face was distorted by his words. Although Yi Wangran said, I'm so scared of you, everyone could hear the viciousness and disdain in his tone. The 7 people of the Shao clan stood behind Xiao Zhen. Their faces were as cold as frost. Opposite them, Yi Wangran stood upright. Although there was a group of defeated soldiers behind him who had lost the ability to resist, Yi Wangran still stood proudly and coldly. His expression was valiant, and he didn't yield an inch. The atmosphere was like a volcano that was about to erupt. It was oppressive and silent. Nobody dared to speak. Only Yi Wangran and Xiao Zhen had the right to speak. The 2 of them also didn't speak. At this moment, it was superfluous to say anything. Xiao Zhen originally wanted to explain this matter, but Yi Wangran broke Xiao Luoyu's neck with a crisp snap. This made him immediately realize that no matter how he explained this matter, whether it was done by the Shao clan or not, it was no longer important to the facts at this moment. There was no need to explain at all. Yi Wangran, how are you? Your methods are so clean. Xiao Zhen nodded and looked at Yi Wangran with a malicious gaze. He nodded again and turned to leave. Now that this matter had come to this, he must report it to the clan. No matter what, he and Yi Wangran couldn't fight here. Once they fought, he wouldn't be able to kill Yi Wangran, and Yi Wangran wouldn't be able to kill him either. But none of the people from the Shao clan and the Yi clan who were here today would be able to survive. When he fought with Yi Wangran could find countless opportunities to kill all the people on his side. He wouldn't be able to protect them. Similarly, if he wanted to kill them, Yi Wangran wouldn't be able to protect them either. Although many of these people were martial saint experts, even if there were 100 of them at the peak of martial saint level, they would only be killed by a first-stage supreme martial artist whose realm hadn't stabilized yet. The martial saint level's divine sense was just a divine sense, but the divine sense of a supreme martial artist was already close to the great Tao. This was a qualitative difference. So Xiao Zhen didn't want to stay here any longer. But when he was about to leave, he was stopped by Yi Wangran. Wait. Yi Wangran still gritted his teeth lightly. He raised his head and looked at Xiao Zhen disdainfully. He said gloomily, Xiao Zhen, are you leaving now? Xiao Zhen didn't turn back. He said in a low voice, what do you want? Yi Wangran let out a strange laugh like an owl. 8 people on my side have died. I've only killed 1 on your side. Don't you think this is very unfair? Even the leading figure of our Shao clan has died in your hands. Even if you don't say it, the enmity between our 2 clans can no longer be resolved. You still want a yard after taking an inch? Xiao Zhen was furious. Yi Wangran gritted his teeth. The ones who died on my side aren't ordinary people either. Your Shao clan should know who you've killed. He's called Yi Wuqian. He's the 8th son of the last generation of our Yi clan. He's only 50 years old, but he's already a martial saint. Do you know what this means? Xiao Zhen sneered. Yi Wangran, I'm going to take them away now. If you want to kill them, go ahead. If you don't want to bury all your Yi clan members in this black pine forest, I won't be stingy with these few lives of my Shao clan members. After saying that, he didn't turn back but walked forward. His voice was full of murderous intent. If Yi Wangran dares to kill them, I'll make sure that none of the Yi clan members who are here can return. He was sure that Yi Wangran wouldn't dare to kill them. He was sure that since Yi Wangran had already lost Yi Wuqin, he wouldn't bear the risk of losing Yi Wutian as well. But Xiao Zhen was wrong again this time. Yi Wangran had already been humiliated enough tonight. He was deceived by a junior of the Shao clan. His face had been greatly damaged and he was so ashamed that he couldn't show his face. He was already burning with rage. Now that he saw the juniors he had brought get killed, how could he still bear it? Xiao Zhen had only taken 2 steps when he heard Yi Wangran gritting his teeth and saying, "Since you don't care, why should I care?" Chapter 881. Xiao Zhen instantly felt that something was wrong. He immediately turned around. However, a black object that was accompanied by a sharp sound of the wind was already rushing towards him. Xiao Zhen stretched out his hand and caught the object in his hand. He could tell at a glance that it was Xiao Luoyu's corpse. Xiao Luoyu was already dead. If he smashed his corpse, it would be too much. But Yi Wangran had already transformed into a black gust of wind and rushed into the crowd of the Shao clan. With 2 bangs, 2 martial monarchs of the Shao clan flew into the air and were torn into pieces in midair. Xiao Zhen turned around and stood in front of Yi Wangran. Then he punched out. This punch was as heavy as a mountain. It was as if the heavens and the earth were frozen at this moment. The surrounding space was also frozen under this punch. The air no longer flowed. Yi Wangran, do you really want everyone to die? Xiao Zhen roared. Yi Wangran let out a shrill howl. Suddenly, the color of the whole night sky changed greatly. I've never seen Yi Wangran in my life. Once I see him, my soul will be shattered. Yi Wangran let out a long howl. His sonorous voice was full of killing intent, with infinite determination and madness. Then let them die together. With his voice, the whole ground suddenly began to collapse and crack. Plumes of smoke rose straight up into the sky. Cracks appeared on the ground. It's the Yi clan that's turning the world upside down. He's crazy. Xiao Zhen moved and shouted, "Retreat." Then he shouted, "Yi Wangran, take my move, mountains and rivers assemble." He stomped on the ground fiercely. With a boom, waves of energy rushed out and gathered the cracked ground under his feet in an instant. His whole body suddenly rose up along with the gathering of the ground. He opened his hands and closed them together. With a whoosh, 2 huge palms appeared in the air at the same time. They came towards Yi Wangran from the left and right. Yi Wangran laughed crazily. "Ah, good. Look at my wind and cloud break." He clasped his hands together and separated them. A jet of black energy was suddenly thrown out. 2 powerful streams of energy clashed against each other, and suddenly, a nearly 400 feet wide bottomless abyss appeared between the 2 of them. 5th Master Xiao. If I, Yi Wangran, want to kill someone, you can't stop me. At the same time, Yi Wangran laughed strangely and flew out rapidly like a big bird. His body flashed a few times, and the screams of the Shao clan could be heard one after another. Xiao Zhen was filled with grief and indignation and he shouted, "Then let's compete and see who can kill faster. Let's see if my Shao clan or the Yi clan will die first." At this moment, his body turned into a long rainbow and shot into the Shao clan's defeated army. His 2 hands separated as he began a massacre. Screams rang out one after another. This dark and gloomy black pine forest at this moment had actually become the battlefield of the 2 supremes. Whether it was the Yi clan or the Shao clan, neither of them had expected this to happen. In just 2 breaths, the 2 of them had already killed quite a number of people. At this moment, they were shuttling back and forth in the forest, searching for fish that had escaped the net. "If you kill me, I can't save them. I can only kill you." Their cultivations were on par with each other, and both of them knew their own limits. These pitiful experts of the Yi clan and the Shao clan were about to die. Suddenly a voice rang out, "Stop." This voice was very crisp and even a little soft. Just by listening to this voice, one could already feel some gentleness. But it was a woman's voice. This voice wasn't loud. But whether it was the furious Yi Wangran or the furious Xiao Zhen, both of them stopped as if they had been electrocuted. Yi Wangran's 5 fingers were already on the head of a saint from the Shao clan. But before he could exert any force, he actually retracted the primordial qi that was about to gush out of his palm after this shout. Then he stopped moving just like that. One of Xiao Zhen's hands had already grabbed Yi Wutian's throat with 3 fingers. He was about to kill Yi Wutian, but when he heard this voice he suddenly stopped. There was complete silence in the air. In fact, the air that was filled with the stench of blood was suddenly filled with a sense of peace and gentleness. The gentle voice asked, "Have the 2 of you gone mad?" Yi Wangran and Xiao Zhen did the same action at the same time. One of them flew to an open area and stood respectfully. They immediately operated their martial arts to disperse the blood, flesh and murderous aura on their bodies. Then the 2 of them bent down and said, "Is this Master Feng?" With a deep sigh, a beautiful woman in snow-white clothes suddenly appeared in front of the 2 of them. She had a slender figure and was extremely beautiful. This woman seemed to be in her 20s. Her hair was like clouds, her figure was tall and slim like a willow, and her eyebrows were picturesque. Just by standing here, the battlefield seemed to have suddenly changed into one that was full of gentleness and compassion, as if the spring breeze had suddenly come to the earth in this early autumn. From the sky to the earth, it was vast and mighty, and it was all intoxicating gentleness. She just stood there quietly, but Yi Wangran and Xiao Zhen didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Just a moment ago, the 2 unparalleled killing gods who wanted to slaughter the world had suddenly become more obedient than little lambs. Only a faint sigh was heard. That woman frowned slightly and said softly, "Why are you doing this?" The 2 of them lowered their heads and didn't dare to say a word. Even when facing this woman in white, they didn't dare to use their spiritual detection, aura guidance and divine soul. "Raise your heads," the woman in white said softly. "Yes." The 2 of them answered at the same time. They still bent down and raised their heads. Only then did they realize that there was another woman beside that woman in white. She had the same beautiful hair, the same outstanding beauty, and the same peerless elegance. It was just that this woman's face was a little childish, but her eyes were calm and quiet. Faintly there was even a hint of power and disdain. This other woman was dressed in black. The expression on his face was ice cold. She was like a piece of ice that refused to melt. Any man who wanted to get close to her would only get frostbite. "It's rare that you still recognize me. I'm Feng Yuro." The white-clothed woman's eyes were like dots of paint. She quietly looked at the 2 of them. Her voice was still gentle, low and delicate. "Master Feng's name is well known in the world. How can we not know you?" Yi Wangran and Xiao Zhen broke out in cold sweat at the same time. Are you still willing to listen to me?" Feng Yuro frowned slightly and said, "I'm no longer a law enforcement officer. No matter when, we'll carry out Master Feng's words to the end." The 2 of them answered in unison. Then don't fight anymore." Feng Yuro said softly, "So many people have died. It's quite uncomfortable. Go back home." She said to Xiao Zhen, "Go back and tell Xiao Sei." Xiao Zhen said respectfully, "Yes." Feng Yuro looked at Yi Wangran and said softly, "You tell Yi Di." Yi Wangran lowered his head and said respectfully, "Yes. There's one more thing that I need the 2 of you to spread." Feng Yuro rubbed her forehead and actually smiled slightly. She pulled the woman in black over and let her stand beside her. She said softly, "This is my new disciple. His surname is Wu. Wu is in dark clouds." The 2 of them shuddered and said loudly at the same time, "Congratulations, Master Feng. Congratulations, Master Feng. You finally have an ideal successor. It's worthy of celebration. If the world knows about this, it'll definitely be a great celebration." Then they turned to the woman in black. "Congratulations, Miss Wu. You've met a great teacher today. It's only a matter of time before you become the leader of the Ming dynasty." The woman in black calmly bowed and politely said, "Thank you for your congratulations." Then she took a step back and stood 1 step behind Feng Yuro. Feng Yuro smiled satisfactorily and said quietly, "I heard that it's not peaceful here, so I specially came over to take a look. By the way, I can also take a look at the mountains and rivers in the southeast." He also wanted to come over, but I met 2 people over there. I don't like those 2 people, so I left first. When she said he, she actually felt a little uncomfortable, like an unmarried girl talking about her lover. Her white jade-like face also blushed a little. "It turns out that Master Yu is also coming?" Xiao Zhen and Yi Wangran shuddered at the same time. Sweat appeared on their foreheads and they felt weak all over. They had already started to feel grateful to the gods and Buddhas. Fortunately, it's the wife who came today, not the husband. If Yu Lingxue came and saw the 2 of them killing innocent people, their lives would probably come to an end. Drunk on Yu Lingxue's weakness, listening to Feng Yuro's gentleness. Who would have thought that these 2 lines, which were full of poetic and picturesque feelings, actually represented such terrifying characters. Qianshan's aptitude is not bad. Both of us like her very much. Feng Yuro's face was full of joy when she talked about her new disciple. She said, "So, Lingxue also won't accept any more disciples. That is to say, Qianshan is the successor of both of us." Yi Wangran and Xiao Jun shuddered and raised their heads. They were tongue-tied. When they looked at this girl in black again, there was actually some admiration in their eyes. There was even some reverence in their eyes. What's the background of this girl? She's actually accepted as a disciple by both Yu Lingxue and Feng Yuro. This is simply inconceivable. When the two of you go back, tell the lords of your clans that in the future, if you meet my disciple in the martial world, you must take care of him or her. If someone's killed by my disciple, we'll be very angry, Feng Yuro said seriously. She would actually be very angry if someone was killed by her disciple. What kind of saying is this? But Yi Wangran and Xiao Jun felt that it was natural. They nodded like pecking rice. Yes, yes. By the way, tell some lecherous men in your clans not to have any ideas about my disciple. My disciple is too beautiful. I'm very worried. Feng Yuro said worriedly, whichever clan has such a beautiful disciple, prepare to let Xiao Sei or Yi Di come to apologize. Or both of us can go to your clans together to greet them. The two of them broke out in cold sweat. This was the most important thing. Now the two of them couldn't stay here any longer. They really had to guard against this matter. Which clan didn't have lecherous men? Second update, begging for monthly votes. I'm going out with my wife to buy some things. I'll drink some wine at night and write my story after drinking. So if there's any update, it'll be at night. I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning to write my story. So far, I've only written 2 chapters. I'll write 2 chapters first. Seeing that everyone left their blessings in the book review and comments section, my wife was very emotional and tearful. She said that this was the first time so many people celebrated her birthday. Sister Feng and I have been through a lot and we almost became strangers. Previously, I kept it from everyone because at that time, I didn't know what our future would be. I had no confidence at all. So, it's not easy for us to get to where we are today. It's a long story. Chapter 882. Part 7 Chapter 158 Where the Heart Lies. Yi Wangran and Xiao Jun's hearts were beating like drums. Author's note, the author of this novel is a Chinese novel. This younger brother of Master Feng was so beautiful. Even the two of them couldn't help but feel amazed by her beauty, not to mention a young and vigorous teenager. If she was seen by a playboy in the clan, it was absolutely inevitable that he would have some dirty thoughts or flirt with her. But if the elder of the clan had to go and apologize personally because of this, firstly, this would be too unjust. Secondly, when the elder came back to apologize, the whole clan would probably lose a layer of skin. Especially that troublemaker. He would probably become the punching bag of the dozens of generations of the clan's ancestors. This generation would never be able to make a comeback, and they wouldn't even be able to die. After we go back, we'll definitely strictly instruct our clans to prevent such a situation from happening again. The two of them broke out in cold sweat. At the same time they thought of one thing. If a certain daring person was their direct descendant, then they thought of the strict clan rules of their elder and instantly shuddered. Okay. Feng Yuro nodded quietly and said, during this period of time, we'll bring our disciples to play in the southeast. Don't make such a big fuss between the two of you. Such a beautiful scenery will be ruined by you. Then we won't be able to enjoy it anymore. Yes, yes. We won't fight, we won't fight. The two of them nodded repeatedly, their foreheads full of cold sweat. For example, this black pine forest. Alas, how will we play in the future? Feng Yuro frowned slightly and said, I like scenery. The mountains are beautiful, the earth is magnificent, the water is clear and the flowers are lush. If I don't have the interest to play, I'll be unhappy. But if he's unhappy, then your two clans will be a little uncomfortable. The two of them nodded repeatedly. They thought, actually Yu Lingshua's unhappiness is secondary, because he's unhappy only because of one person. But it's more terrifying if you're unhappy. Because if you're unhappy, Yu Lingxue will be even more unhappy than himself. Then both of you will be unhappy together. That'll be really terrible, Feng Yuro frowned. Let's go. The smell here is too unpleasant. She turned and said, Qianshan, follow me. His white robe fluttered as he quietly flew up like an immortal. Behind him, Wu Qianshan, who was dressed in black, also followed. The two graceful figures disappeared in the blink of an eye. The two supreme martial artists heaved a sigh of relief at the same time, and almost sat down on the ground. "It's really dangerous," said Yi Wangran. "Yeah, that was close." Xiao Zhen wiped his sweat. "Fortunately it's Feng Yuro, and not Yu Lingxue." Yi Wangran still had lingering fears. Feng Yuro is famous for her good temper and gentleness. However, this disciple of hers is not gentle at all. She has a murderous aura all over her body. Although her cultivation is so low, she naturally has the aura of a superior, bossy and arrogant, with a feeling of looking down on the world. If she grows up, she will definitely be another Yu Lingxue. Or even stronger. Yu Lingxue and Feng Yuro are working together to teach little brother. My God, how could such a thing happen? Xiao Zhen sighed. The two sighed at the same time. Then Yi Wangran suddenly came to his senses. He jumped out and said angrily, "Xiao Zhen. We'll definitely settle today's scores with you in the future." Xiao Zhen shouted, "Yi Wangran, on account of Master Feng, I'll let you off today." As they spoke, the two of them were a little embarrassed. Then they snorted heavily. One went to the east and the other went to the west. They parted ways. The Yi clan and the Xiao clan couldn't fight for the time being. And because Feng Yuro and Yu Lingxue were in the southeast during this period of time, the Xiao clan and the Huang clan could only stop fighting for the time being. But even if they couldn't fight here, it didn't mean that they couldn't fight in other places. It's a small world and people will eventually travel everywhere. Feng Yuro's sudden appearance extinguished the storm that Chu Yang had prepared for a long time. On the surface, Feng Yuro's appearance had rendered all the plans that Chu Yang had prepared for a long time useless. But who could say for sure whether this was a good thing or a bad thing for Chu Yang? An open spear had turned into a hidden arrow, and an open flame had turned into a hidden flame buried underground. Once the storm blew, it could start a prairie fire again. No matter what, the people who died today couldn't be resurrected. Then the seeds of hatred had been planted. Martial Yin Yang update, and as the sword spirit had said earlier, even if you create an irreversible chaos in the heavenly layer, what can you do with your current strength? On the other side, Feng Yuro brought Wu Qianqian and strolled in the forest. Wu Qianqian followed behind her. Her eyes were a little excited but also a little dazed. Following such a powerful master was of course a smooth journey. But her future was destined to be filled with great responsibilities. But at the same time, she was also a little dazed about her future. The more powerful the master was, the heavier the responsibility. Because the honor of the sect was integrated with her bloodline the moment she became a disciple. Wu Qianqian could be defeated and die, but the disciples of Yu Lingxue and Feng Yuro couldn't be defeated and die. Become stronger. She had to become stronger to protect the sect's honor. Only by becoming stronger could she really help. Chu Yang. Chu Yang. Thinking of this name, Wu Qianqian felt a sharp pain in her heart. She subconsciously pinched the leg of the black robe she was wearing. On the surface, it looked smooth, but when he touched it with his hand there were slight bumps. Wu Qianqian knew what it was. Chu Yang, Qianqian likes you. This was the robe she made for Chu Yang. After Chu Yang left, King of Hell Chu's robe was made by Wu Qianqian herself. Every time she made a robe, she couldn't help but use her hair as a needle and thread to embroider the same few words on the robe. Only when she was wearing such a black robe could she feel that she was still connected to Chu Yang. Chu Yang was still by her side. Just like a year ago when Butian Pavilion was just established, Chu Yang and she sat opposite each other at a table. Whether it was the way of dealing with people or scheming, whether it was the arrangement of small schemes or the general situation of the world, whether it was the observation of people's hearts or political analysis, whether it was the mountains and rivers, or the heavenly palace, Chu Yang would explain everything to her in detail. He seemed to be talking casually and she seemed to be listening casually. But she knew that he was talking with his heart, and he also knew that she was listening with her heart. Wu Qianqian sighed softly in her heart. That pair of sharp and calm eyes seemed to appear in front of her. Chu Yang's eyes were sometimes very gentle like autumn water, sometimes very cold like a vulture, sometimes very sharp like a sword, sometimes very painful like a deep pool, sometimes very intense like a raging wave, sometimes very blank like an empty void. It was that pair of eyes that often reflected thousands of emotions and 10,000 kinds of expressions, slowly entangling and surrounding Wu Qianqian until she was immersed in it and couldn't come out. Her heart fell. Chu Yang left and she took over the position of King of Hell Chu. Every time she handled the matter she felt that Chu Yang was more outstanding. He had already laid a good foundation, but there were still some things that she didn't do properly. She was overcautious. Then, how much pressure did he have to face when he handled the same matter? What kind of courage did he have? How much mental effort did he have to expend? She only knew how knowledgeable Chu Yang was when she came to the upper three heavens. He had already explained everything clearly, including the current situation of the great ruling clans. He had jokingly mentioned it at that time. A mountain can't accommodate two tigers, not to mention that the great rulers don't have a middle venerable. The great clans are definitely scheming against each other. There were as many heavenly layer experts as there were clouds, and there was no end to it. Chu Yang also said that at that time. Who knows how big this world is and what kind of experts there are? What kind of experts can dominate the world? This is all a mystery. Without reaching a certain level, one will never know the level above. The king level of the lower three heavens is the heavens, but what about the lower three heavens? What about the upper three heavens, where all the elites are gathered? What about the legendary monarch level and saint level? What about the supreme level? Who knows if there is no one above the supreme level? There is no end to the heavens, so how can there be an end to Tao? Since there is no end, what is the end? Wu Qianshan thought about what Chu Yang said at that time, and she was actually a little dazed. Chu Yang, you know so much. Chu Yang, Qianshan misses you so much. Chu Yang, where are you? Wu Qianshan did not expect that at the moment when she and Feng Yuro stepped into the black pine forest, Chu Yang, dressed in black, had also silently exited the black pine forest. To a certain extent, she and Chu Yang had brushed past each other. She was going in the direction that Chu Yang came from, or she might have deviated. But Chu Yang was going in the same direction that Wu Qianshan came from, and he definitely did not deviate. The two of them were taking the same route, but they were going in opposite directions. It could not be said that this was a pity. For lovers, it could not be said that this was a kind of sorrow. Feng Yuro walked in front quietly. She was a gentle and graceful woman. She felt that her disciple seemed to be a little distracted, but she did not say anything and only sighed slightly in her heart. This younger brother's talent was beyond her expectations. His wisdom was also beyond Yu Lingshua's expectations. His perseverance and temperament were also beyond their expectations. His cultivation speed was so fast that it made them even more overjoyed. He could be said to be a rare genius in the heavenly layer for tens of thousands of years. Moreover, the Xianyin energy in her body seemed to be bestowed by the heavens, which was an unexpected surprise and ecstasy. But it was a pity that this younger brother's heart was not in her chest. It was already firmly tied to a young man that she did not want to say the name of. The more she was like this, the more she would be with him for life once she fell in love. The more she was like this, the more infatuated she was with him. The more infatuated she was with him, the more likely it was for her to end up in a tragedy. With Feng Yuro's spiritual power, she did not need to look back, and she could clearly feel the deep longing and sorrow in Wu Qianshan's eyes. Where's your heart drifting? Feng Yuro sighed slightly. Qianshan. Master, I'm here. Thinking of him again? Yes. Who exactly is he? Master, please forgive me, I can't say. Third update. Chapter 883. Silly girl. Feng Yuro reprimanded her softly. Then she said thoughtfully, in this case, it's also good. You have something to worry about, and it's an infatuated and unrepentant love. With this obsession, it's also a good thing for cultivation. This infatuation can guide you step by step into the sentimental heavenly Tao. Sentimental heavenly Tao? Wu Qianshan's eyes lit up. Sentimental heavenly Tao. Feng Yuro looked at Wu Qianshan lovingly and said, people often say that the heavenly Tao is heartless. This sentence is not without reason. The vicissitudes of life, birth, old age, illness, and death, everything is so natural and normal. Even if billions of people in the world suffer at the same time, the heavens will not open its eyes and care. It's just indifferent and emotionless, operating the laws of heaven and earth. Even if your filial piety moves the heavens, even if you're an unparalleled hero, in the eyes of the heavenly Tao, you're just a grain of sand. That's why the heavenly Tao is heartless. Although this saying is reasonable, those who say that the heavenly Tao is heartless have a common characteristic, and that is selfishness. He thinks too highly of himself and his life. He always thinks, if the heavens have eyes, why doesn't it care that I've suffered so much? If the heavens have eyes, why doesn't it kill all the bad guys? In other words, this kind of person thinks too highly of himself. One must know that even if a person's experience is seen by a different person, it's as unconcerned as a pig or a dog. How can you still hope that the heavens will see your experience, care about it, and help you? The heavenly Tao is sentimental. What it cares about is the reproduction of the whole world and the changes of the whole world, and not one person or thing. What it cares about is the balance of the world. Feng Yuro said, do you understand? Wu Qianshan shook her head in confusion. I'm slow-witted. I only understand half of Master's words. It's best if you understand half of it. Feng Yuro said, then what do you understand? Wu Qianshan said, I only understand that the heavens are the same as me. They have feelings and concerns. Feng Yuro was a little shocked. Wu Qianshan's words sounded a little childish and seemed to be nonsense. But in Feng Yuro's ears, it was as if she had been enlightened. Wu Qianshan's words seemed to have opened up a path to heaven and earth in front of her. She had thought that she had reached the end of her martial path, but now, a ray of light had appeared in the distance. Although it was out of reach, it clearly existed. The heavens and I are the same. The heavens and I are the same. I am the heavens. Heaven is me. Feng Yuro's heart skipped a beat. She suppressed the astonishment in her heart and took a deep breath, saying, You very good. You have to remember what you said today. Wu Qianshan was at a loss. She didn't understand what had happened. She only replied, yes. Feng Yuro continued to walk forward and said indifferently, Qianshan, if one day you reach a high level, but you realize that time is merciless and the person in your heart has already become an old man or a lonely grave in the wilderness, what will you do? A sweet look of trust appeared on Wu Qianshan's face. She said in a voice brimming with confidence, That won't happen, Master. You will only walk further and higher than me. You would never be pulled down by me. I had to work 1,000,000 times harder to keep myself from being too far away from him, to the point where I couldn't see his back. I can't let the distance between us widen. Feng Yuro smiled gently and said non-committally, You have quite a lot of confidence in him. Wu Qianshan lowered her eyebrows and smiled. He can't make people not have confidence in him. Feng Yuro smiled. In her opinion, with her and Yu Lingxue working together to teach her brother carefully, and with the assistance of countless heavenly treasures, her brother would definitely not be inferior to anyone. Perhaps in the entire heavens, only the brother of those two old monsters could be compared to him. However, in view of Wu Qianshan's amazing talent, the brother of those two old monsters shouldn't be that strong. In just a few months, Yu Lingxue had used a secret technique to raise Wu Qianshan's cultivation and spirit from the peak of revered martial artist to the 7th stage of martial monarch. This was a result that would make anyone dumbfounded and unable to believe. This kind of improvement was simply against the natural order. Moreover, the couple came to the southeast this time to look for an elixir. If they could get this elixir, the two of them would be able to raise Wu Qianshan's cultivation to the martial saint level in the shortest time possible. With a little experience, she would be able to roam the martial world on her own. Wu Qianshan's sweetheart didn't have a famous teacher to teach him, nor a strong backup, let alone heavenly treasures. He could actually leave Wu Qianshan far behind? Feng Yuro only took this as a joke. But she would never have thought that what Wu Qianshan said was the biggest truth. The master and disciple walked out of the black pine forest and walked along the mountain ridge. Looking at the scenery under the moonlight, Feng Yuro said silently, Tribulation Sword Master hasn't appeared yet. How can a big clan fall into chaos first? Suddenly Wu Qianshan asked, Master, what's the highest realm in this world? Feng Yuro was startled. The highest realm? Wu Qianshan said, Yes. Feng Yuro said, There's no highest realm. Wu Qianshan said, Back then I heard someone say, that supreme martial artist might not be invincible. God knows how many more realms there are above supreme martial artist. Feng Yuro was really shocked this time. She turned around and looked at Wu Qianshan. Her voice was serious. Who said this? When Chu Yang met up with Wei Wuyin and the others, they had already arrived at Baisha Ferry. Everyone had been anxiously waiting for him. Seeing Chu Yang, they were all overjoyed. Everyone felt that it was unimaginable that Chu Yang could stop Yi Wangran. They felt that this little brother was full of mysteries. But everyone was rational and didn't ask anything. Wan Renjia was a little excited. He said, It's going to be lively now. Last night when we rushed into the Yi clan, Stop. Chu Yang raised his hand and interrupted him. Don't talk about this matter again. Don't talk about it at any time, any place, or to anyone. This matter, we don't know about it at all. Understand? Wan Renjia suddenly realized. He said, Yes, yes, yes. Always be careful. Wei Wuyin sneered at one side. He looked at Wan Renjia and his two brothers and said contemptuously, You're not capable enough. Then he stopped. Bao Buhuan said angrily, Are you saying that we're good at spoiling things? Wei Wuyin smiled and turned his head away. Wan Renjia, Cheng Duing and Bao Buhuan glared at Wei Wuyin's back. The atmosphere was tense. Chu Yang had an extreme headache. After the battle last night, the sword spirit's divine soul was seriously damaged. He had to rest for a period of time. Chu Yang didn't need to keep his huge divine soul force, so he let the sword spirit use it to recover his divine soul. Now that they were here, they were far away from danger. But Chu Yang couldn't do anything in the face of these 4 people. These 4 people seemed to be natural enemies. They would quarrel with each other within a quarter of an hour. If Chu Yang wasn't in front of them, they would come to blows. This wasn't a long-term solution. After walking along Baisha Ferry for a few days, this situation became more and more intense. Chu Yang frowned more and more. In these few days, Chu Yang finally realized that Wei Wuyan was nothing. This number 1 blood payer had always been low-key. But Wan Renjie, Cheng Duiying and Bao Buhuan were outlaws. They were lawless, daring and unscrupulous. Only on the afternoon of the first day, when they met a small horse team, they rushed up and snatched the horses back. Everyone had 1 horse each, but there were still 2 left. Chu Yang didn't have time to stop them. The few men who were beaten off their horses kowtowed and begged for mercy. Then they ran away. On the second day, a horse team escorted a carriage. It was a blood payer organization that had accepted the reward. Wan Renjie was looking at Chu Le, who was very tired from riding a horse and felt sorry for her. Now that he saw the carriage, he immediately rode his horse out. Standing in the middle of the road, he shouted, "Once I see Yinyang Bridge, I'll strike Yinyang Bridge." Before he finished his words, this team of blood payers had already gotten off their horses and knelt down to beg for mercy. Yinyang Bridge. What the heck? This is a living king of hell. Then, when he heard that Wan Renjie wanted a carriage, he even personally invited the person in the carriage to come down. He cleaned the carriage carefully, changed the bedding and mattress and respectfully sent the carriage over. Wan Renjie didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. He waved his hands and asked them to get lost. Then he sent Chu Le into the carriage very lovingly. Chu Yang and Wei Wuyan were speechless about this act of banditry. But Wan Renjie and the other 2 were already used to doing such things. They said eloquently, "What's this? Robbing them without killing them is giving them face. If we were in a different position, we would have been chopped into pieces long ago." Cheng Duiying nodded vigorously in agreement. In this world, the weak are prey to the strong. Bao Buhuan strongly agreed. 4th brother, eldest senior brother and 2nd senior brother are right. Wei Wuyan rolled his eyes and didn't say anything. Chu Yang felt that it was inappropriate, so he could only get into the carriage to accompany Chu Lu. This was even more impressive. Wan Renjie and the others walked and robbed along the way. When they reached the Baisha ferry, the team had already expanded to more than 10 carriages and hundreds of horses. It was a mighty journey. Seeing such a grand occasion, Chu Yang had to admit, although there was a certain risk in robbery as long as one was powerful, this was the fastest way to make a fortune. Looking at this mighty team of carriages and horses, in just 3 days, they had already amassed a fortune that ordinary people couldn't amass in a lifetime. Baisha ferry. There were finally some signs of human habitation here. The opposite side was the territory of the Huang clan, and this side was the territory of the Shao clan. There were ferrymen going back and forth, boats shuttling back and forth, and dozens of people waiting on the shore. Facing such a situation, Wan Renjie actually sighed with emotion like a poet. There's blood and fire over there, and there's singing and dancing over here. Life is really like a game of chess. This sentence made Wei Wuyan laugh on the spot. Chapter 884. Baisha Ferry. The waves of Baisha River surged past. It was right in front of them. It was a full 1,000 feet wide. This ferry was a place where the water flow was relatively gentle. There was a group of people in yellow robes coming and going in a hurry. They were from the Huang clan. There was also a group of people in black coming and going. They were from the Shao clan. There were many conflicts between the 2 clans now, and they often fought with each other. But at this ferry they minded their own business. Seeing that a group of big clients had come, 2 people in yellow and 2 people in black came to welcome them at the same time. "Are you going to cross the river?" The man in yellow looked at the 5 people in front of him, and then looked at the more than 130 horses and 15 big carriages behind them. He was a little uncertain. If all these things were to be transported across the river, neither of the 2 clans would be able to take them all. This was only a small ferry. The 4 people looked at each other and had an idea in their hearts. Cooperate. Nonsense. But we're coming to this barren place to pick out a son-in-law? Wan Renjie rolled his eyes and said rudely, "Elder, you'd better think carefully before you speak," the person in charge of the Shao clan said coldly. Wan Renjie laughed sinisterly. With a slap, the man from the Shao clan who was 30 feet away, was sent spinning and fell to the ground. Little bastard. I'll use your face to think carefully. Clanging sounds were heard. No matter if it was the Huang clan or the Shao clan, they all drew out their swords. Wan Renjia crossed his arms and sneered. Cheng Duiying and Bao Buhuan also came forward with a malicious smile. What's the matter? Do you want to fight? Seeing that the situation was not good, Chu Yang hurriedly jumped out of the carriage. Divine Dr. Chu was very regretful now. Bringing along these three brothers was simply bringing along three huge troubles. As long as the three of them followed him, even if there was no trouble, they would continue to find trouble. These three guys were eager to see the world in chaos. Besides being very respectful and protective of Chu Yang, they were also somewhat in awe of him. They were also very protective of Chu Lu. As for the others, they didn't care about them at all. They were here to offer him a boat to cross the river, but before he could even finish speaking, they were about to draw their swords and kill him. Well, everyone, please don't be angry. Chu Yang's black robe was elegant and unrestrained. His face was like jade as he stepped out of the carriage. Everyone's eyes lit up. Chu Yang clasped his hands behind his back and put on the demeanor of a great master. He chuckled and said, "We're all on the same side. Don't misunderstand." As he spoke, he raised his eyes slightly and looked at them at eye level. Although his smile was amiable, it was also aloof. "You are." The man from the Huang clan looked at Chu Yang in bewilderment. "My surname is Chu," Chu Yang said lightly. "Has Huang Xiaoyou recovered from his illness?" "It's Divine Dr. Chu." The burly man from the Huang clan was in awe. He knelt on the ground with his saber. "I didn't know that Divine Dr. Chu had come. I Huang Dedeo pay my respects to you." Chu Yang was also stunned. Who would have thought that the Huang family would treat him with such courtesy? "What Divine Dr. Chu?" That man in black got up from the ground and said furiously, "Give me, wait, Brother Shao." Huang Dedeo hastily jumped over and pulled him aside. Then he whispered a few words in his ear. The black-clothed man's face was still somewhat indignant. Huang Dedeo whispered a few more words before he finally nodded reluctantly. He waved his hand and left with the man in black. Huang Dedeo came forward respectfully. "Divine Dr. Chu, I've already rented the Shao clan's ship. But if we want to transport all these things over, I'm afraid that we'll have to make 2 trips. Chu Yang said, "It's okay. 2 trips it is." "Huang Dedeo, do you have any intention of taking these horses? There's no harm in leaving a few behind." Huang Dedeo was shocked and said, "I don't dare to." It was unknown what method Huang Dedeo used or what price he paid, but the Shao clan's ship also came close. Everyone worked together and dragged the horses and carriages onto the ship. There were only over 40 horses and 5 carriages left on this side. "We don't want these anymore." Chu Yang waved his hand. "Huang Dedeo, I don't think you'll charge us any fees for escorting us over. You can share these things with your brothers here." Huang Dedeo couldn't refuse, so he could only accept them. The ship pulled up the anchor and sailed to the river. Chu Yang and the others stood on the second deck, leaning against the railing and looking into the distance. They could only see the endless torrential river in the distance. The waves were surging mighty and mighty. Immediately, everyone felt a sense of relief. Chu Lur nestled in Chu Yang's arms and looked at the sky and water in the distance. Her beautiful hair fluttered in the chilly river wind and her eyes narrowed. No one knew what she was thinking about. After a long time she said softly, "Big brother, my father, is in such a chaotic martial world every day, in such waves, in such barren hills and turbulent rivers, looking for medicine for me." Her voice was low and soft, but it was actually full of emotions. Chu Yang sighed in his heart and said, "So, you have to get better quickly. Once you're well, the pain and torment of third uncle will be completely gone." Chu Lur nodded heavily. Chu Yang looked at the sky and water and said quietly, "Big brother, do you see it?" Wan Renjia was stunned and asked, "See what?" Chu Yang said, "The torrential river water is unstoppable. It's invincible and naturally annihilates everything. Even if there are mountains and rocks to block it for a while, they can't block it for a long time. Isn't this the same as the principle of martial arts? As long as one's strength is strong, no matter how difficult or dangerous it is, one can always get through it. Because they have no scruples." Wan Renjia was silent for a moment and said, "Fourth brother, what do you mean?" Chu Yang said, "The 3 of you have just improved your cultivation, so you can't stay by my side. If I'm by your side, you'll miss me. So, you won't be able to improve your spiritual cultivation and reach the supreme martial artist level. Only when you leave me and wander in the boundless world can you understand the supreme martial artist's thoughts step by step and comprehend the essence of this level." Wan Renjie, Cheng Duing and the other two were all silent. Bao Buhuan said, "But fourth brother, how can we rest assured when you travel alone? At the very least we have to escort fourth brother to his destination." Chu Yang smiled and said, "In this world, when is life not full of danger? If the three of you want to protect me, then the only way is to protect me until I die of old age." The three of them were silent. "Besides, brother Wei Wuyin will definitely not be in any danger if he follows me." Chu Yang said lightly, "When the flowers bloom next spring, I'll appear at the medicine banquet of the Zhuge clan." Medicine banquet of the Zhuge clan. Wan Renjie and the other two were shocked. "In this case, after we leave the Huang clan, we'll bid farewell to fourth brother. When the flowers bloom next spring, we'll meet again at the Zhuge clan," Cheng Duing said resolutely. "Okay," Chu Yang smiled. "Then, you have to take good care of Luer." Wan Renjie looked at Chu Luer with some reluctance. "Don't worry," Chu Yang patted his shoulder. Everyone was silent and stood facing the wind for a long time. The big ship braved the wind and waves and moved forward. After a long time, there seemed to be a wisp of coldness on the river surface. "It's so cold." Chu Luer shrank into Chu Yang's arms. "How can it be so cold in such cold autumn weather? It was just cool just now." Chu Yang said puzzledly. "Divine Dr. Chu, be careful. There's an expert crossing the river." Huang Dedeo's shout came from below. Chu Yang looked up again and found that the faces of Wei Wuyin and the others had all turned solemn, and their eyes were fixed on the river below. The coldness was getting stronger and stronger. Chu Yang took a breath and operated his pure yang cultivation to protect Chu Lu. At this moment, a clear voice seemed to be shouting from a very far place, 3,000 miles of ice seal. This voice was very far away and it was impossible to see where the speaker was. But at this moment there was a sudden change. A thick white fog suddenly appeared on the river surface that stretched for dozens of miles. "So powerful!" Wei Wuyin exclaimed. Under everyone's gaze, the water of the whole river actually made cracking sounds and flowed slower and slower. In just a breath's time, the whole river actually froze into a big block of ice from top to bottom. And the ship of Chu Yang and the others was frozen in the middle of the river. The wind that blew from above was still cool in autumn with the warmth of the sun, but under their feet, it had already turned into a glacier. Not far away, the river water still had the shape of flowing water just now, but it had already become solid. Even the surging waves had turned into lifelike ice sculptures. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Someone has used a supreme technique to freeze the whole river in an instant. Wei Wuyin's face turned pale. Who actually has such a godly technique? At this moment, everyone had the same thought as Wei Wuyin. Who is this person? Is this person still human? Look over there. Wan Renjie suddenly shouted and pointed his finger. His eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Chu Yang turned his head and looked over. His eyes also couldn't help but pop out. A faint figure, dressed in white, was gliding slowly on the river surface. The undulating waves that had already turned into solid ice carried this person's body as he glided over from afar. As he glided, his hands were also doing something. This person's speed looked very slow and elegant, but in fact, it was extremely fast. In just a moment he had already arrived in front of everyone. Chu Yang looked over and saw that this figure was actually a young man in snow-white clothes. His black hair was fluttering in the wind. His eyebrows were sword-like and his eyes were bright. His complexion was fair and there was a faint smile on his lips. He had an elegant demeanor and stood out from the crowd. As he glided along, he waved his hands repeatedly. Following his gestures, dark red shadows jumped out from the river surface one after another, jumping into his hands and disappearing in the blink of an eye. Within thousands of feet, there were still red shadows coming one after another. No one knew how many there were, but all of them fell into this person's hands and disappeared. This person is collecting the boneless blood fish in the Baisha River. It's said that this fish is unique to the Baisha River. It's a type of fish with pure yin. It's very effective for female cultivators to cultivate cold yin energy. This kind of fish hides deep in the river and is extremely difficult to catch. Once it's alarmed, it will drill into the mud and never be found again. I didn't expect this person to use such a method to collect them. Look at him, he's collecting more than 10 million of them at once. It's really too extravagant. Wei Wuyin sucked in a breath of cold air and said with some fear. Chapter 885. Chu Yang was also shocked in his heart. Boneless bloodfish was a kind of underwater spirit beast. Even if it was 10,000 years old, it would only be the size of a palm. This kind of fish was similar to the divine chi-gathering fish of the Three Stars divine clan. The divine chi-gathering fish absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. The boneless blood fish naturally couldn't be compared with the divine chi-gathering fish, but in terms of effect there was only a difference. The divine chi-gathering fish was extremely rare. One might not even be found in 1,000 years. Although there were many boneless blood fish, they could only be produced in Baisha River. The boneless blood fish was cold by nature. As it grew, it absorbed the cold energy of the underwater veins and stored it in its body. The older they were, the more yin chi they had. At a certain point, these boneless blood fish would use the yin chi to turn into a fluid and fill their bodies, replacing the original bones and fish bones. Their bodies would then transform into a red color. In fact, only then could it be called boneless blood fish. Generally speaking, it would take at least 300 years for a boneless blood fish to grow into a red body without any bones. But this person came from the opposite side, flying all over the sky. The number of boneless blood fish he collected this time was more than 10 million. Perhaps after he collected this time, the boneless blood fish in Baisha River would be completely extinct within 300 years. Using such a mysterious method to collect the boneless blood fish. This person was really extravagant. The boneless blood fish had a miraculous effect on the cultivation of the purine body. Seeing so many boneless blood fish, Chu Yang immediately thought of two people. One was Wu Qianshan and the other was Mo Qinggu. If these two women had the help of the boneless blood fish, their cultivation would definitely be twice as fast. Or even more. It was a pity that this person was so powerful that Chu Yang didn't have the ability to snatch the boneless blood fish from his hands. Besides, Wu Qianshan was in the lower three heavens while Mo Qinggu was in the upper three heavens. Even if it was in his hands, he could only put it in the tribulation space and wait for an opportunity. Just as he was thinking about it, the man had already arrived in front of him. He stood in the middle of the river and waved his hands. Countless boneless blood fish jumped out from every corner and fell into his hands like moths to a flame. In the distance, almost invisible to the naked eye, there were still countless boneless blood fish flying over. This person stood in the middle of the river and collected for a full quarter of an hour. Only when there were no more boneless blood fish flying out of the river did it finally stop. He turned around and looked at Chu Yang's ship. He smiled faintly and nodded as if to express his apology. Everyone was dumbstruck, unable to react at all. The man waved his hand and a red light seemed to emerge from his palm. With a splash, the entire river suddenly thawed, and the river water began to surge again. This time the momentum was even more urgent. The three big boats that Chu Yang and the others were on were immediately washed away by the river water. At this moment, the man smiled and stretched out his hand. The three ships returned to their original positions. It was as if they had not moved at all. The river water rushed under the ships, but it did not affect the ships at all. They did not move at all. The man nodded apologetically and said with a smile, "Please don't take offense. I'm just here to catch a few fish. I'll be done in a moment. Please forgive us for the inconvenience." No one said anything. They thought to themselves, what's there to understand? We're not idiots. Why would we find trouble with you after you revealed such a skill? As for blaming you, isn't that a joke? Chu Yang coughed and cupped his fists. Senior, feel free to do whatever you want. It's also an eye-opener for us. The man laughed and glanced at Chu Yang. Then he turned his head away. Suddenly he made a sound of surprise and turned back to look at Chu Le, who was in Chu Yang's arms. Then, with a flick of his sleeve, a person floated onto the ship and came to Chu Yang's side. Chu Yang only felt a blur in front of him, and there was another person in front of him. Then he saw this person reach out and place his hand on Chu Le's wrist. Everyone saw these actions clearly, but everyone felt as if they were in a dream. They could see everything clearly but they could not move at all. This little girl's constitution is very strange. The man frowned slightly and said, she also has a purine body but it's actually damaged. The cold yin energy has spread into her divine soul. She should have died early. How did she survive until now? Chu Yang's eyes lit up. Senior, can you cure my sister's illness? He thought to himself, this person is undoubtedly an extraordinary person. If he can cure Chu Le's illness, that would be great. It would also save him a lot of effort. The man retracted his hand and pondered deeply. After a while he said indifferently, I can't cure her. He paused and said, however, the person who suppressed the pain in her divine soul can cure her. Chu Yang's heart skipped a beat and he did not dare to say anything more. This person actually discovered the divine soul imprint left by the sword spirit when he treated Chu Le. The man frowned and murmured, who is this person? This person's control over the divine soul has already reached such a shocking level. I'm far inferior to him. He shook his head and looked at Chulu. He paused and said, the cold yin energy in her body already carries congenital poison. If her illness is cured and she cultivates poison, she'll be a great material for cultivation. Chulu's eyes lit up and she asked, poison? Is it very powerful? The man in white smiled brightly. It's the most powerful in the world. Chulu smiled happily and looked at Chu Yang. However, she realized that her elder brother's face was gloomy and he looked a little angry. She couldn't help but stick out her tongue and didn't dare to speak. The man in white smiled and said, although I can't cure her completely, I can help strengthen her physique. As he said that, he raised his hand and hundreds of boneless blood fish appeared in his hand. He reached out and grabbed at the air, and the hundreds of boneless blood fish suddenly exploded. A small transparent ball the size of a thumb appeared in his palm, and its fragrance filled the air. He brought the ball to Chulu's mouth and said, eat it. Chulu was a little flustered, but she still opened her mouth and swallowed the ball. Then the man in white pointed at Chulu's forehead. Chulu only felt an indescribably comfortable and cold yin energy quickly circulating in her body and merging into her dantian. Then a warm force came from her forehead, and she immediately became drowsy. She swayed a little and fell into Chu Yang's arms. Her breathing was light and she fell asleep. Let her sleep for a while. She'll be fine when she wakes up. The man in white looked at Chu Yang and scrutinized him. He said, you're her elder brother? Chu Yang said, yes. The man in white said, yes. Poor little girl. It's a pity that I've already taken in a younger brother, and her injuries haven't healed. I can't do anything. As he said that, he scrutinized Chu Yang again. With a strange look he said, poison doesn't necessarily harm others and oneself. You're a little old-fashioned. Chu Yang smiled faintly and said, if a beautiful girl cultivates poison, it'll ultimately affect her reputation. It's fine for men like us, but a girl's reputation will be ruined because of this. And she will still have to marry in the future. Who would dare to marry a woman of poison who can kill thousands of people with just a wave of her hand? The man in white snorted. No one dares to marry her because they're ordinary people and not worthy of her. Since they're ordinary people, why should we care about their opinions? You must know that the beauty of the right person can only be discovered by the right person. It's enough that only one person appreciates the beauty of a girl in her life. Chu Yang thought for a while and said, elder, you're right. The man in white smiled faintly and said, if you truly love her, give her a future. Let her command the winds and clouds and look down on the world, instead of using your status and love to bind her to an ordinary girl. Chu Yang said faintly, even if she wants a future, she has to be cured first. The man in white looked at Chu Yang. After a long time he smiled faintly and said, little brother, you're only 18 years old now, but you're already a 4th-grade sword sovereign. Such cultivation is rarely seen since ancient times. You'll have extraordinary achievements in the future. Perhaps we'll have a chance to meet again. He paused and said, since it's a sword, you must know that a sword needs to be sharpened. Chu Yang's heart shook. He muttered, a sword needs to be sharpened. The man in white said quietly, use experience to sharpen it, use blood to sharpen it, and use human lives to sharpen it. If you don't sharpen it, it's just a piece of iron. Chu Yang's face was solemn. He said seriously, elder, thank you for your guidance. The man in white laughed. He looked at the river and said, it's about time. He tilted his body and fell back into the water. With a low shout, his entire body was suddenly frozen again. He waved his hand and more red shadows leaped out of the water. After a long time, no more red shadows came out of the water. The man in white laughed and disappeared on the river surface in a flash. The river thawed in an instant and regained its momentum. But no one knew what the man in white did. After thawing this time, the ship didn't get washed away. Instead, it didn't move at all. It continued to sail forward smoothly and actually maintained the speed of inertia. Everyone on the deck was silent. After a long time, Chu Yang asked, who's this person? Wei Wuyan sighed. He looked at Wan Renjie and the other two, whose faces were almost pale, and said, the 3 of them definitely know. Look at how scared they are. Wan Renjie's face turned red, but he shuddered and said, if I'm not wrong, this person is probably the 2nd law enforcement officer in the world. Yu Lingxue. He's also Feng Yuro's husband? Chu Yang nodded and said, no wonder you're so scared. Wan Renjie and the other 2 had been enemies with big clans and law enforcement officers all their lives. How could they not be scared when they saw the leader of the law enforcement officers? Moreover, their teacher was once injured by Feng Yuro. The three of them blushed and felt embarrassed. Chu Yang hugged Chu Le, who was sleeping soundly. He frowned and looked at the place where Yu Lingxue stood just now. He murmured, Yu Lingxue. Yu Lingxue. If a person can have such cultivation, then where can he not go in this world? If I have such cultivation as Yu Lingxue, I'll have no regrets in this life. Wei Wuyan agreed. The ship continued to move forward. Yu Lingxue had already reached the shore on the other side. In a flash, he appeared on a mountain in the distance. He shouted in a low voice, Ning Qinya, come out. Chapter 886. Following Yu Lingxue's shout, an old man landed lightly in front of him like a cloud. Without waiting for Yu Lingxue to speak, he was already furious. I saw you talking to that person on the ship. That person? Yu Lingxue was stunned. That young man? Yes. Ning Qinya nodded heavily. That bastard was holding a little girl in his arms, did you see that? Yu Lingxue was confused. What's wrong? Who is that little girl to him? Ning Qinya gritted his teeth. Did you ask? That's his sister. What's wrong? Yu Lingxue felt that Ning Qinya was purely crazy. His words made people confused. Sister? Ning Qinya frowned. Are you sure? Yu Lingxue was furious. Can't I, Yu Lingxue, distinguish the bloodline fluctuations of the same clan? Is it fun to lie to you? So it's his sister. Ning Qinya rubbed his hands and laughed. Damn it, damn it. Yu Lingxue frowned and said, Ning Qinya, what's wrong with you? Ning Qinya sighed. It's a long story. Yu Lingxue snorted and said, You're really lazy. You actually have to ask me to collect a few boneless blood fish? Ning Qinya rubbed his hands. Take it out, take it out. We'll split it in half. Yu Lingxue raised a finger. Wait. I'll split it with you, but I have to make it clear in advance. This time I want more than half. You can only take less than half. Ning Qinya jumped up. What? Because I'm the one who did it, not you. Yu Lingxue squinted. Why, you're not convinced? Let me tell you, if you're not convinced and can't fight, we can fight again. But then you won't have a single fish. So be it. Ning Qinya gave in. A small half is still 150,000 fish. Yu Lingxue was furious. Ning Qinya, you actually counted them one by one. You just stood by and didn't do anything. Ning Qinya sighed. I have my reasons. Yu Lingxue was so angry that he was speechless. He took out the divine qi gathering fish and said, Here you go. Ning Qinya said with a drooling face, Why don't you give me this ring as well? My disciple still lacks a storage ring. Yu Lingxue was furious. Your disciple is lacking? My disciple is still lacking. Do you want these fish? If you want it, then take it. If you don't, then scram. You're so rude. Ning Qinya rolled his eyes. In the end, he still took it and stuffed it into his storage ring. Then he casually grabbed a piece of purple crystal essence jade pendant from Yu Lingxue's waist and said, Give this to me too. I'll let my disciple play with it. Before Yu Lingxue could react, he had already stuffed it into his arms. Yu Lingxue's handsome face flushed red with anger. Ning Qinya clapped his hands and said with a smile, Ha! Look at how angry you are, you pretty boy. I've already said that you shouldn't always maintain the appearance of a pretty boy. It's very bad. Ning Qinya, your cultivation isn't number one in the world, but your shamelessness really deserves to be number one in the world. Yu Lingxue gasped for breath and said. He knew that the jade pendant in Ning Qianya's hands was like a meat bun falling into a dog's kennel. He would definitely not be able to get it back. He could only sigh at his bad luck. Why didn't he take protective measures when he met this old bastard? Being shameless is also a kind of cultivation. During this period of time with Bulu Qing, I've been infected by his shamelessness. Ning Qinya laughed dryly. Have you taken it? Yu Lingxue said angrily, If you've taken it, give me an explanation. Why don't you take action yourself? Ning Qinya sighed. It's not that I don't want to take action. You also saw that young man, right? Is that young man in black the one holding the little girl? Yu Lingxue said, I saw him. What's wrong? That's his sister. Yu Lingxue suddenly became suspicious. He looked Ning Qinya up and down. I say, Old Ning, did you suddenly have a burst of love and actually take a fancy to that little girl? Why are you being jealous here? Bastard. Ning Qinya flew into a rage. You want to measure my character with your petty heart? Then what's going on? Yu Lingxue touched his chin and looked at Ning Tianya with some interest. He took the water bag at his waist and drank a mouthful of water, feeling that it was very satisfying to tease this old thing. That guy is my disciple's sweetheart, Ning Tianya said sadly. Pfft. Yu Lingxue spat a mouthful of water on Ning Tianya's face and coughed repeatedly. Ning Tianya looked at him with grief and indignation. Your disciple, is that, so tall? Yu Lingxue reached out his hand and gestured. He asked in disbelief, that little girl's sweetheart? Ning Tianya sighed. Who said she wasn't? Ha. Yu Lingxue held his belly and laughed. Like teacher like disciple ha. Ning Tianya, you're really good at teaching. You yourself fell in love with your big senior sister who's more than 50 years old when you were 13 years old. Now your disciple is actually better than you starting at 12 years old? Bullshit. Ning Tianya's face turned red. At that time, although my big senior sister was more than 50 years old, she looked only 18 years old. But your disciple is only 12 years old. Yu Lingxue emphasized this point. She actually already has a sweetheart and scared you so much that you don't dare to meet him. You're actually jealous of your disciple at the side. Ah. How talented, what do you know? There's another story behind this matter. Ning Tianya was angry. Then he quickly told him about the matter between Chu Yang and Imo Qinggu. He said, she's just a little girl but she suffered so much. In the whole heavens, there's only one person who loves her, supports her, and thinks about her in everything. If it were your wife, she would have run away with him long ago. Ning Tianya, you bastard. Yu Lingxue was originally nodding repeatedly as he listened. He had some understanding of this matter and felt that it was pardonable that a 12-year-old girl had a sweetheart. Suddenly Ning Tianya threw out the last sentence and he was instantly furious. Take it that I said something wrong. Ning Tianya raised his hands in surrender. Knowing that Feng Yuro was really Yu Lingxue's only reverse scale and couldn't be touched, he hurriedly apologized. Yu Lingxue's anger still hadn't subsided. Get lost. Ning Tianya chuckled. Okay, I'll get lost. With a whoosh, he disappeared without a trace. In midair, his muttering could be heard. You really can't take a joke. You're still as boring as before. Yu Lingxue stood quietly. After a long time, he suddenly smiled and said hatefully, this old bastard who deserves to be cut into pieces. When I'm done with my disciple, I'll go up to Mount Supreme and have a battle with you. The last sentence floated out. After a moment, Ning Tianya's reply could be heard. If you dare to come, I'll let my disciple beat you to death. Yu Lingxue laughed. The shameless bastard. With a flash he also left. On the other side, Ning Tianya had already reached the sky. In the misty clouds he looked down at the big ship below. On the big ship, Chu Yang had a conflicted expression. I can't let this little guy see me. Once he sees me he'll definitely pester me endlessly. Ning Tianya thought, originally old Bu and I were already on the verge of death because of that little girl. If we tell her that we saw Chu Yang then we'll be done for. Ning Tianya made up his mind. He took one last look at Chu Yang on the big ship and was about to fly away. Right at this moment, on the big ship, Chu Yang suddenly had a strange feeling in his heart, as if someone was secretly spying on him. He couldn't help but look up. This little girl's spirit is so sensitive. Ning Tianya was shocked. With a flash, he disappeared without a trace. Chu Yang only had time to see what seemed to be a faint shadow flashing and disappearing in the void. Then the sky became clear. He almost suspected that his eyes were playing tricks on him. He wondered, who was that just now? Is it Yu Lingxue who's secretly spying on me? The big ship sailed smoothly and finally reached the other side. The moment he got off the ship, he saw a person rushing towards him affectionately. Boss, oh boss, I missed you so much. Ah. Huang Xiaoyou Huang Gong wore his hat askew and opened his lapel, revealing 2 rows of ribs. He opened his mouth and laughed as he welcomed Chu Yang. He opened his arms exaggeratedly and was about to jump. Stop. Chu Yang was speechless. What are you doing? Huang Xiaoyou hurriedly stopped. Boss? I have great news to tell you. Stand. Chu Yang said, just say it there. Huang Xiaoyou could only stand there and smile weirdly. Finally he was overjoyed. Boss? I'm pregnant. I'm finally pregnant. You're pregnant? Chu Yang was as if struck by lightning. Who got it? This sentence was so powerful that even Wei Wuyin, Wan Renjie and the other 3 were so scared that they took a step back. Their hair stood on end. Ugh. Huang Xiaoyou only realized that he had said something wrong. He hugged Chu Yang's shoulder and his eyebrows jumped happily. Then he whispered mysteriously in Chu Yang's ear, "I'm pregnant." Chu Yang said admiringly, "You're really fast. Really brave." Huang Xiaoyu smiled and was overjoyed. He whispered again, "And I have 2 wives now." Chu Yang was dumbfounded. "So powerful?" "It's all because of boss's miraculous hands." Huang Xiaoyu laughed and winked. "I'm really very fierce now." Chu Yang suddenly thought of something. "Don't just focus on being fierce. Since your wife is pregnant, you should stop for a while and consolidate your strength. I'm warning you, if you do it too frequently, you won't be able to do it again in a few years." Huang Xiaoyu was horrified. Okay. I'll remember. I'll definitely remember." He wiped his sweat. "My father still wants to take in concubines for me during this period. It seems that it's not the right time yet." Chu Yang shook his head and was speechless. A group of people crowded around and entered the Huang clan castle. On a mountain far away, Bu Luqing was frowning helplessly. He was holding his temples with his hands. He was speechless and at a loss. He was sighing again and again. In front of him, a little lowly in red was making threatening gestures. "I want to see my brother Chu Yang. I want to see him. I haven't seen my brother Chu Yang for a long time. Oh, teacher, if you don't let me go, I won't practice martial arts anymore." Chapter 887. I'm not going to practice anymore. This sentence was extremely powerful. Bu Luqing hurriedly opened his eyes, looking troubled. "Little Wu, be good and go practice. Your big brother Chu Yang is in the 3rd heavens. Because of the Tribulation Sword Master, the passageway to the 3rd heavens is completely closed. We can't go down at all. We have to go down even if we can't." Mo Qingwu said with tears in her eyes. "We have to go down even if we can't." Bu Luqing rubbed his temples. "How can we go down if we can't go down?" Mo Qingwu pouted. "Master, didn't you always say that we don't have the conditions to solve this problem for now? But we have to create conditions to solve it even if we don't have the conditions." She then turned around. "That's exactly the case now. It doesn't matter if we can't go down. We have to create conditions to go down even if we have to." Bu Luqing was tongue-tied and his eyes were dull. Creating conditions to solve the problem and creating conditions to pass through the heavens. How could they be confused? That was the seal of the heavenly Tao. How could they go down? "Master, you're lying. You said that you'd let me go down to see big brother Chu Yang when I reached the emperor level." Mo Qingwu angrily accused. She felt that she had been deceived. "I'm already in 8th grade emperor level now." Bu Luqing did make such a promise and he definitely didn't intend to go back on it. But at that time, Supreme Martial Artist Bu didn't expect that the passageway to the heavens would suddenly be closed. He remembered that when he made the promise, Mo Qingwu practiced almost day and night. Her diligence and rapid progress made Ning Tianya and himself so happy that they couldn't close their mouths. But when Mo Qingwu reached the emperor level, the heavens were closed. Who could be blamed for this? Both of us? "Little Wu, don't worry," Bu Luqing said with difficulty. You should practice well first. Maybe the passageway to the heavens will open again. Then you can see your big brother Chu Yang." Mo Qingwu swung her ponytail and turned around angrily. In one of her pockets, a small white head cautiously peeked out. 2 pitch-black eyes rolled around. It was the wind fox. Bu Luqing was helpless. Suddenly, Mo Qingwu turned around again. She grabbed his arm with her small hands and swung it back and forth. Her voice was sweet and soft as she said, "Sure, father." Bu Luqing's bones instantly felt lighter. Following the rise and fall of Mo Qingwu's voice, he slowly shook his head and said, I knew that you would definitely have a way." Mo Qingwu continued to shake her head. "There must be a way." Bu Luqing narrowed his eyes, being swung back and forth. "Then let me go down," Mo Qingwu said in a fawning manner. "Go down. Let's go down then." Bu Luqing suddenly woke up from his disciple's bewitching words. "Where are we going?" "Go for 3 days, master." Mo Qingwu continued to shake her head. "I really can't go down." Bu Lu was about to cry. Mo Qingwu instantly flung Bu Luqing's arm to one side. She used so much force that it almost dislocated Supreme Martial Artist Bu's arm. "Master, you're not a good person." The little lowly flipped out. With tears in his eyes, he looked at old Butcher angrily. "I'm going down anyway." Bu Luqing opened his mouth and rubbed his temples. He was screaming wildly in his heart, Old Ning, Ning Tianya, come back quickly. I'm about to break down. As long as you come back quickly." I admit that you are number one under the heavens. I will immediately announce this to the heavens. Anyway, I'm going down, 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 I'm going down. The little loli stomped her feet and shouted. Buluqing had a splitting headache. He said patiently, "Little Wu, you see, this is the will of the heavens. The heavens passage is sealed. It's not up to anyone to decide. Other than waiting, there's really nothing else we can do." Mo Qingwu looked at him with distrust. "Teacher, didn't you say that you were going to be my disciple? Are the two of you the most powerful people in the entire heavenly layer?" Of course. Buluqing was naturally unwilling to pass on this responsibility. "But you guys can't even open a single passage." The little loli rolled her eyes. He said with disdain. "Meaning? You can't even open this small passage, how can you be considered the number one expert?" Buluqing was stunned. He stomped his feet and said, "But we don't have the final say in this passage. I suddenly feel that there's no future in learning from you guys. You can't even open a passage." Mo Qingwu put her head on her knees and said sadly, "You guys are leading me astray." Buluqing almost vomited blood. He said with grief and indignation, "Little miss, you can't say this casually. Do you know how many people in this heavenly layer are envious of you?" Mo Qingwu didn't speak. She just sat there pitifully. "Lil Wu, be good. Go and practice." Buluqing said. "Master, I have a stomachache. I must have gone mad." The little loli blinked her eyes and said bitterly, "I didn't see Brother Chu Yang and I went mad." Buluqing's eyes widened. He only felt that a mouthful of blood was going to come out of his throat. Was he possessed by the devil? With your aptitude of opening all 100 meridians, it would be strange if you went mad. What's more, chi deviation. Was there really such a painful chi deviation? It wasn't just Buluqing. Even the wind fox in Mo Qingwu's pocket started to laugh. It seemed that it couldn't help but laugh. During this period of time, the wind fox had been basking in Mo Qingwu's limelight. Now it was slowly growing a new tail. If it grew another tail, it would become a 10th grade spirit beast. At this moment, Buluqing's savior finally arrived. A loud shout came from the foot of the mountain. It was full of energy. Buluqing's eyes were filled with tears. "Old Ning, my dear father, you're back." A figure appeared in front of him. It was Ning Tianya. When he saw the current situation, he was startled. "Buluqing, what kind of master are you? Your disciple isn't practicing, so you accompany her in a daze?" Buluqing felt as if he had been pardoned. He didn't want to argue with him. He stood up and said quickly, "Oh, I have a stomachache. I'll go to the toilet first." Before he could finish his words, he was already gone. His speed was fast and his movements were awkward. It was as if he had already pooped in his pants. Ning Tianya cursed at once. "Stomachache? A supreme-level expert has a stomachache. Buluqing, you fucking find such a lousy excuse. You might as well get pregnant." At this moment, Mo Qingwu turned her head sadly. She sniffled and said in a nasal voice, "Master?" Ning Tianya's heart trembled. He put on a smiling face. "Little Wu, I haven't been home. How's your progress?" "I went mad." Mo Qingwu stroked her belly. She made a painful expression. "Chi deviation?" Ning Tianya was startled. He almost jumped up. "What's going on?" "Master Bu didn't let me look for Brother Chu Yang." Mo Qingwu was extremely sad. "I'm very upset." "Oh, Ning Tianya was stunned. Then he rolled his eyes and laughed. "Little Wu, look, what did I bring back for you?" "I don't want anything." Mo Qingwu was about to cry. "Master, can't we go down to the upper 3 heavens?" Mo Qingwu felt a little different about her two masters. Both masters were equally loving and equally strict. Comparatively speaking, the two masters were equally strict. In comparison, Buluqing had a straight face every day, as if he didn't want anyone to get close to him. Ning Tianya, on the other hand, was happy every day. But for some reason Mo Qingwu would throw a tantrum in front of the obviously fierce Buluqing. But she was in awe of Ning Tianya, who was easy to get along with. In fact, looking at his cold face suddenly becoming helpless and helpless, Mo Qingwu felt a sense of accomplishment in her heart. Mo Qingwu thought. Ning Tianya rolled his eyes. "Yes, the heaven passage is closed. We can't go down indeed." Mo Qingwu's face fell. "Poor Brother Chu Yang?" Ning Tianya rolled his eyes again and said, "But your Brother Chu Yang is already in the upper 3 heavens now." "Ah? Ah!" Mo Qingwu shouted emotionally. She grabbed Ning Tianya's beard. Her petite body suddenly left the ground and swung up. She kicked her legs. Master, where is brother Chu Yang? I want to go find him. Ning Tianya shouted. Caught off guard, his snot and tears almost gushed out together. His beard, which had been carefully trimmed for thousands of years, almost ran away from home at this moment. Great aunt, let go of me first. Mo Qingwu hurriedly let go. The wind fox poked its head out of the pocket and looked at Ning Tianya's beard. It looked like it also wanted to go up and grab it. I went down the mountain to get the boneless bloodfish this time and met your brother Chu Yang. Ning Tianya stroked his beard and said, the two of us also had a deep discussion. It was very friendly. Chu Yang asked about your progress in cultivation. What did you say, master? Mo Qingwu blinked her big eyes and clasped her hands nervously in front of her chest. What else can I say? Of course, I told him the truth, Ning Tianya said, stroking his beard. Then, what did brother Chu Yang say? Mo Qingwu asked persistently. Sigh. Your brother Chu Yang is very disappointed. Ning Tianya sighed, this makes me feel very ashamed. Very, very disappointed? Mo Qingwu was a little uneasy and her eyelashes drooped down. Why is brother Chu Yang disappointed? Ning Tianya sighed. Your brother Chu Yang asked me, what level is Xiaowu at now? Have you reached the saint level? Just a single sentence and you've already stunned me? Mo Qingwu was also stunned. She stuttered, Saint level? Yes. Ning Tianya sighed and said, I really can't help it. Xiao. Your brother Chu Yang is really insensible. Ordinary people need to painstakingly cultivate for hundreds of years or even thousands of years to reach the saint level. Xiaowu has only been at the saint level for a year now, and he actually asked if she had reached the saint level. Mo Qingwu frowned and didn't care about Ning Tianya's words of sowing discord. She said worriedly, did brother Chu Yang encounter some trouble? Do you need help? Ning Tianya's thoughts changed 180 degrees and he said, yes. At that time I felt that something was wrong, so I also asked him, what trouble do you have? Do you need help? The little loli was anxious and she said, yes. Chapter 888. Ning Tianya secretly rolled his eyes and said, at that time your big brother Chu Yang said that he needed help, but Xiaowu hasn't reached the martial saint level and can't help. At that time, his expression was very disappointed, very anxious, very exasperated. Mo Qingwu's little head instantly drooped down dejectedly. It was only later that I found out that Chu Yang is going to do something big next year. Ning Tianya said emotionally, but I'm afraid that the older generation won't be able to help. The only ones we can count on are the younger generation. But Xiaowu, you haven't reached the required level yet. Mo Qingwu opened her mouth wide. I can work hard. What's the use of working hard? Ning Tianya almost laughed with relief on the spot. His big hand pinched his own, but hard to stop laughing. He said, that's the martial saint level? Xiaowu, you're quite uncooperative now. You've even started to slack off in your cultivation. I definitely won't slack off in the future. Mo Qingwu swore. Then we can only see the situation. It seems that Chu Yang's matter next year is not far away. This matter? Ning Tianya sighed. I'm afraid. You still can't make it in time, teacher? Is there a quick fix method? Mo Qingwu was almost crying. How could she not help big brother Chu Yang when he was in trouble? A quick fix method. Ning Tianya was very proud. He thought to himself, Xiaowu was originally very resistant to quick fix methods and was also very uninterested in heavenly treasures. Now she's actually begging for quick fix methods herself. Actually, it doesn't matter if you don't go. He still has a few very good-looking girls around him to help him. Ning Tianya said very evilly. How can that be? Mo Qingwu was filled with righteous indignation. She jumped up in exasperation. Those little vixens don't have good intentions. How can they help big brother Chu Yang do anything? I'm his wife. Ning Tianya couldn't catch his breath. Looking at this fierce little girl in front of him, he almost fainted. Such a little girl who was still wet behind the ears was actually coveting the position of someone else's wife. This made the corners of Supremacy Ning's mouth twitch. I will definitely break through to the martial saint level next year. Mo Qingwu clenched her fists and gritted her teeth. Her entire face was flushed red. Let's go down the mountain and help big brother Chu Yang. Expel all those shameless vixens from the Chu clan. Ning Tianya's entire body was covered in cold sweat. He had the symptoms of alternating between cold and heat. Master, you must help me. The little loli's eyes were resolute, and she grabbed Ning Tianya tightly. Little Wu wanting to advance from the 8th stage of the Emperor level to the Saint level in less than a year. Ning Tianya sucked in a breath of cold air. It's really not easy. Other people have to cultivate for more than 1,000 years. I don't care. Mo Qing Wu resolutely replied, Master, you can make me reach the 8th grade Emperor level in a year. So, you can certainly make me reach the Saint level. I believe in you, Master. Ning Tianya took a deep breath. He felt that he had mobilized a little too much. It had the opposite effect. From nothing to an 8th grade martial emperor in just 1 year. Do you know how much the two of us have sacrificed? All the medicines that were suitable for martial great masters, martial saints, martial kings, martial emperors. Both of us have found them for you. We even found heavenly treasures that could gather the spiritual energy of heaven and earth for you. We also found a jade bed that could gather spiritual energy for you to cultivate on its own. Every day the two of us would use our Supreme Being's divine consciousness to refine your body so that your spiritual energy could keep up with your soaring cultivation level. We have even dug up the spirit veins of a big clan to find spirit veins for you. From the beginning of your cultivation, all the things you have used are things that can make the entire heavenly layer go crazy. So, we have forcibly raised your cultivation to the 8th stage of the Emperor level. Now, this little girl wants to advance from the 8th stage of the Emperor level to the Saint level in the shortest time possible. Ning Tianya was somewhat melancholy. We will do our best. No, we must do it. Mo Qing Wu resolutely said, Master, I will go and cultivate now. Turning around, the little girl went off to practice martial arts. She had a resolute demeanor and the determination to defend her position as Brother Chu Yang's wife to the death. Her footsteps were sonorous and sonorous. Ning Tianya sighed deeply. Finally, I have sent my disciple to cultivate. But how can I cover up this lie when the time comes? Besides, what kind of ability can make his disciple's cultivation and divine sense advance to the saint level in half a year? This is a huge problem. It took me 20 years to advance from the emperor level to the saint level. How can it be so easy? Just as he was thinking, Ha Lung. Bulu Qing floated over and rocked back and forth. Old Ning, you have bragged too much, haven't you? Ning Tianya frowned and said, Don't talk. I will think about it carefully. Bulu Qing snorted. What are you thinking about? It is not impossible for her to reach the saint level in half a year if she only improves her cultivation. We can do it with one enlightenment. But she has to rely on herself to comprehend and communicate with the heavenly way. How can it be so easy? He said in a mocking tone, she has no foundation to reach the emperor level. She only needs to comprehend martial arts. This is not a difficult matter. She will follow the path step by step as long as we pave the way. Therefore it is not difficult. But, she needs to comprehend the heavenly way from the 5th grade of the monarch level. Is this something you can help with? You have made such a wish. Let's see how you clean up the mess if you can't fulfill it when the time comes. Ning Tianya frowned and said, Didn't I come to discuss with you? Bulu Qing angrily said, Why should I help you clean up the mess you left behind? Little Wu is our common disciple. Ning Tianya solemnly said, You should put in more than half of your effort. Bulu Qing rolled his eyes. Why should I put in more than half? He said, Don't talk nonsense. Let's discuss it. Ning Tianya sighed. According to the current normal progress, it will be very good if she can reach the monarch level in half a year if you and I put in more effort. Bulu Qing angrily said, Then why did you tell her about the saint level? Ning Tianya drooped his head. I want to set up a long-term target for her. Bulu Qing was so angry that he couldn't speak. Long-term target? Great, now both of us have been trapped in a trap. Long-term your head. Half a year. Ning Tianya sighed. Did you get the boneless bloodfish? How much did you get? Bulu Qing asked. It should be more than 100,000. It was you Ling Xue who got it. It's not much in total. We'll split it in half. He also has a disciple who needs it. Ning Tianya sighed. In order to avoid unnecessary trouble, Ning Tianya said half instead of 1/3. You're giving him half? Bulu Qing couldn't understand. He stared as if he wanted to eat someone. Do you know what kind of person Yu Ling Xue is? He has a wife called Feng Yuro, do you know? Do you know what they take in disciples for? You actually gave him half of the boneless blood fish, which can improve one's bone structure. Do you think our disciple is not good enough? You want someone else's disciple to bully her? Half is still more than 100,000. Ning Tianya said with a guilty conscience. You don't know how to do it yourself? You actually want Yu Ling Xue to do it? Bulu Qing stared. Chuyang was there at that time. Ning Tianya sighed. Guess if I was seen by Chu Yang, Bu Luqing replied with an "Oh, that's understandable." Then he asked excitedly, "How's that guy now?" Ning Tianya rolled his eyes. 4th grade sword sovereign. It looks like he's about to break through to 5th grade. Bu Luqing said, "That's really not easy." Ning Tianya said with deep emotion, "Yes. He has no one to rely on and has worked hard to get to where he is now. It's already a heaven-defying achievement for him to be a 5th grade sword sovereign." Bu Luqing nodded and said with some emotion, "There are really too few lucky people like Xiaowu and Yu Lingshua's brother. 2 supreme martial artists." Indeed, even if it was a direct descendant of a big clan, it was impossible for 2 supreme martial artists to cleanse his meridians every day, let alone a 5th grade supreme martial artist. Mo Qingwu and Wu Qianshan not only had good aptitudes, but also had supreme martial artist masters by their side. They were improving their cultivation every moment, and their spiritual awareness and cultivation were improving together. If they couldn't do it themselves, their masters might as well use the supreme martial artist's divine sense to help them improve. This was equivalent to cheating. How could it not be fast? If they relied on their own efforts, not to mention monarch level or emperor level, it could be said that they had worked very hard to reach king level. That was why the 2 supreme martial artists were so shocked by Chu Yang's mere 4th grade sword sovereign. "He doesn't have any flaws now, right?" Bu Luqing said. Back in the northern wastelands, there was still sword energy exposed. "Not anymore." Ning Tianya said. Even Yu Lingshua couldn't tell. He just felt that he should be extraordinary. Bu Luqing laughed mischievously. "Only extraordinary achievements? Yu Lingshua is really as silly as his wife." Ning Tianya and Bu Luqing looked at each other. Both of them winked at each other and laughed. They were secretly pleased. It seemed that Yu Lingshua couldn't tell Chu Yang's identity. This matter in itself was a big humiliation in front of the 2 of them. It was extremely embarrassing. There are hundreds of thousands of boneless blood fish. If we consume them normally, it won't be possible. We can increase it every day and refine blood pearls to consume. Bu Luqing's expression became normal. He said, "For the first 3 days, 3 pearls a day. Use 100 fish per pearl to refine the essence and improve the foundation of the disciple. For the second 3 days, still 3 pearls, 200 fish per pearl. For the third 3 days, 400 fish per pearl. Increase it in sequence so that her physique can keep up with the requirements of each level as soon as possible. Even if her cultivation is improved, her physique will still be perfect." Ning Tianya was shocked. "Such improvement? You really want little Wu to reach saint level within half a year? That's impossible." Bu Luqing snorted and ignored him. He continued, "So we still need pure yang medicine. And I remember that Chu Yang once gave little Wu Shenyang jade core." Ning Tianya wondered, "Did he?" Then he sighed. "Old Bu, we were born at the wrong time. When we were disciples, we were beaten, scolded, and bullied every day. We were always like Sunday. It felt good to be a master, but it's not easy to be a disciple. Now that we've finally become a master, we realize that the world has changed again. It's not easy to be a master. Damn it, we're still like sun in front of our disciples, bullied by them every day. What the hell is this?" Chapter 889. Bu Luqing rolled his eyes and said, "Our aptitudes can be said to be 1 in 10,000 among ordinary people. But we aren't very outstanding in our respective sections. So, what's so strange about getting beaten and scolded? So many senior and junior brothers who were stronger than us have died. And only the 2 of us are still alive. This is already good enough. But you're still in the mood to complain. If that's the case, who should we complain to about the pile of bones underground?" Ning Tianya sighed. "It's strange. So many people with better aptitudes than us have died." Bu Luqing snorted and said, "People in Jianghu rely on strength and luck. Not aptitude. Aptitude is only one aspect. The key is that you have to pay the price. A natural genius is no better than a pig if he sleeps every day. So, what's so strange about him dying?" Ning Tianya rejoiced and said, "You're right. Fortunately, Xiaowu works hard. She knows how to endure hardships at such a young age. This is very rare. Having such a disciple, it's also a joy for the family to suffer a little." Bu Luqing said disdainfully, "You're a cheap bone. So don't say anything." Ning Tianya glared at him and said, "You're not a cheap bone. You're more patient than me every time you get scolded by your disciple. And you're still smiling and squinting your eyes when she scolds you. Your disciple says that it's not fun if you don't have a beard on your chin. You're more than 10,000 years old, but you still have a beard. You grow a beard for your disciple to play with? Aren't you cheap? But I never complain. Bu Liuqing's face was a little red. He argued, besides, a beard is also a weapon. Your disciple's scolding has increased its flexibility. And it has also trained its attacking power and endurance. Anyway, I'm happy to do so. What can you do about it? Ning Tianya laughed strangely. Bu Liuqing ignored him and said, let's talk about business. Now we have the boneless bloodfish and the mysterious yang jade core. So, the two extremes of yin and yang are enough. Old Ning, you go to the Medicine Valley and get some purple energy cinnabar fruit. Then go to the Zhuge family and get some heaven sun purple Ganoderma. Then go to the North Snow Mountain and get some golden light lotus. Then go to the South Sea and get some purple whale's blood essence. Remember, the more the better. As he spoke, Ning Tinya's expression gradually became interesting. These four places were the North, South, East and West. The Medicine Valley and the Zhuge family were slightly stronger, but the North Snow Mountain and the South Sea were two extremes. Besides, those things were all heavenly treasures. How could they be found immediately after going there? Ning Tinya was flabbergasted. That's easy for you to say. The Medicine Valley, the Zhuge clan, the North Snow Mountain, the purple whale blood. It just so happens that they're all located in the north, south, east, and west, spanning more than 200,000 li. You want me to break my legs just by moving your lips? Why don't you go yourself? Bu Liuqing said indifferently, firstly, it's not my promise to reach saint level in half a year. It's yours. Secondly, if both of us leave, what will happen if something happens here? Thirdly, if you want to go, then go. If you don't want to go, then forget it. Anyway, when the time comes, my disciple won't look for me to settle the score. Ning Tianya flew into a rage. Half each. No way. Bu Liuqing remained unmoved. Ning Tianya stood there pitifully as if he had lost his soul. It's a pity that I just came back. Oh right. Bu Liuqing suddenly clapped his hands and said, I almost forgot. What's the matter? Ning Tianya thought that Bu Liuqing wanted to help him. So he asked in high spirits. You also need to get some spirit comprehension grass and heavenly Dao tea. Bu Liuqing said, little Wu is still young after all. No matter how smart she is, it's impossible for her to comprehend the heavenly Dao. As the saying goes, before one reaches adulthood, one's age changes one's mind. She's still young, so what can she comprehend? Therefore, using spirit comprehension grass and heavenly Dao tea is the most effective way to improve her mind. Moreover, little Wu has the red heart now. So, taking these will be more effective. You also need to get a few kilograms of each of them. Ning Tianya was completely dumbfounded. Old Bu, don't tell me you don't know. Only the two of us have drunk these two things once in our lives. You actually want me to get a few kilograms? And even, conveniently? Then you can fucking go, conveniently. Don't come, conveniently. Ning Tianya flew into a hysterical rage. Bu Liuqing stood up and stretched. If you can get 4 of these things back in 2 months, I'll think of a way to get the remaining 2. If I can't, then I can't do anything. As he spoke, Bu Liuqing walked into his small bamboo house. Ning Tianya's face collapsed like a bitter gourd. Damn Bu Liuqing. Mo Qingwu's voice came from the side. Teacher, come quickly. Ning Tianya jumped up immediately. His voice became gentle and kind. He rushed over, but it was already too late. He could only hear Bu Liuqing's mushy voice from inside. Good little Wu, what's wrong? Oh, so it's this is the soy sauce drop. Supremacy. Ning stared with grief and indignation. He stomped his feet and said as if he was about to cry, I'll go get the medicine. Chu Yang entered the Huang clan castle amidst Huang Gong's chatter. The moment he entered, he could feel the tight security. Everywhere was filled with murderous intent. Now was the time of war with the Shao clan. So, the Huang clan naturally went all out. Chu Yang's arrival was welcomed wholeheartedly by the Huang clan. The clan master Huang Shang came out personally to welcome him. Behind him, several ancestors of the Huang clan also showed up. That night, the Huang clan held a big banquet to entertain divine Dr. Chu. Huang Shang didn't feel anything different about Wei Wuyan. He only thought that Wei Wuyan was divine Dr. Chu's attendant. Wei Wuyan was happy that no one would disturb him. He actually dutifully played the role of an attendant and stood behind Chu Yang. During this period, there were also a few martial saint experts who looked at Wei Wuyan. But they were far inferior to Wei Wuyan and couldn't see anything. Huang Xiaoyou sat at the same table as Chu Yang and was beaming with joy. He even let his 2 wives come out to toast divine Dr. Chu. Divine Dr. Chu was so embarrassed that he almost hid under the table. The little lowly Chu ate to her heart's content. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 types of dishes. At the second table in the hall, a yellow-clothed young man stood up and walked over with a wine cup. He had a smile on his face and was full of pride. Foster father, Divine Dr. Chu has cured my brother's illness. I'm very grateful and would like to propose a toast to Divine Dr. Chu. Foster father, please allow me. Huang Shang laughed. Good. It's rare for you to be so filial. Huang Xiaoyou's face darkened. Chu Yang looked over and saw that the young man in yellow had muscular arms and a thin waist. He was tall and handsome, and his eyes were full of spirit. He actually had the cultivation of a martial emperor. With a cordial smile, he raised a glass full of wine. Divine Dr. Chu's miraculous hands have saved our Huang clan from future troubles. You're really the great benefactor of our Huang clan. I'm Huang Qing. I'd like to propose a toast to Divine Dr. Chu to express my gratitude. If Divine Dr. Chu has any requests in the future, I, Huang Qing, am willing to do anything for you. As he said, he drank up the cup of wine and laughed. Chu Yang raised his cup. Mr. Huang, you're too polite. He also drank a cup. Huang Qing smiled and said a few more polite words. Then he went back and sat down. As soon as he sat down, the 7 or 8 young men at his table all raised their cups to toast to Chu Yang. After a while, Chu Yang finally finished this round of toasting. Chu Yang looked at Huang Xiaoyou. These people are all my brothers, Huang Xiaoyou said dejectedly. They're all taken in by my father in the past 3 years? Chu Yang was enlightened. I see. Huang Shang must have lost confidence in his son at that time, so he could only use this method. But now that Huang Xiaoyou had recovered and was normal, these people were no longer of much use. At first glance, it didn't seem to be a big deal. But if one thought carefully, one would immediately realize that these 7 or 8 young men and Huang Xiaoyou were now mortal enemies. Since Huang Xiaoyou had recovered, it was useless to keep these people. Instead, they would become internal troubles. Huang Xiaoyou sighed dejectedly. These people were still all right in the past. But now that I've recovered, they're all uncomfortable when they see me. Now, I even need 2 martial saints to guard me when I'm having sex. My wife is going to die of embarrassment. Chu Yang was dumbfounded. After dinner, Huang Shang specially invited Chu Yang to his room for a chat. Divine Dr. Chu, you've also seen the banquet just now. I just want to ask Divine Dr. Chu. Has my son's illness been completely eradicated? Chu Yang pondered for a while and said, as long as he doesn't overindulge, he should be fine. But we have to guard against the Shao clan. And the person who can do this should be in the Huang clan. Huang Shang's eyes flashed and he nodded slowly. There are many spies in the Huang clan. His eyes were deep. Obviously he was already relieved. Chu Yang smiled slightly. On the second day when Chu Yang just got up, he felt that something was wrong. It seemed that there was dead silence outside the door. But from the breathing there should be someone outside. When he went out, he saw that the servants of the Huang clan were all huddled at one side, as if they were whispering something. After asking, he knew that the Huang clan was suddenly attacked by the Shao clan last night. None of the 8 brothers of the Huang clan survived. They all died in this battle. In addition, the Huang clan also lost more than 40 experts, including 3 martial monarchs. Chu Yang's heart shook. This Huang Shang is really vicious and merciless. Moreover, he is swift and decisive. He killed so many people without hesitation just because of my affirmation. Since my son recovered, some people looked a little strange. I've been observing. Yesterday, Divine Dr. Chu came. Divine Dr. Chu is the hero who saved the entire Huang clan. Everyone was very enthusiastic, but there were also some people who didn't look right or spoke insincerely. Huang Shang said, so, I killed all those people. Although there will definitely be some who escaped, but, as long as we are careful, nothing will happen. Chu Yang agreed, Clan Master Huang is right. But he was a little wary in his heart. What Huang Shang did was completely right. In terms of benefits, it was right to kill these people. But in terms of emotions, it was a little cruel. Just like what Huang Shang said, there will definitely be some who escaped. He was absolutely certain about this. But there was also one thing that couldn't be denied. There will definitely be some innocent people. Chu Yang asked himself, if it were me, would I do this? After thinking for a long time, the answer was, no. Even if I kill people, I will never hurt the innocent. Chapter 890. Why did Huang Shang let Huang Xiaoyou participate in the Tianding Grand Meeting? Wasn't that sending him to his death? hundreds of miles away from the Huang clan fort. At this time Wan Renjie and the others had already bid farewell to Chu Yang and went their separate ways. They promised to meet again at the medicine banquet of the Zhuge clan next spring. Chu Yang walked for a long time with his head lowered. Then he finally asked this question. Chu Yang really couldn't figure this out no matter how hard he tried. Old Wei, what do you think Huang Shang is thinking? Chu Yang frowned. Why did he let Huang Xiaoyou participate in the Tianding Grand Meeting? Wei Wuyan pondered for a long time and finally sighed. I can't figure it out. Yeah, I can't figure it out either, Chu Yang said. This matter is really puzzling. Chao Wuyan said lightly, if he loves his son dearly he wouldn't let him go to his death. But with Huang Xiaoyou's cultivation, there's no other way for him to participate in the Tianding Grand Meeting. Chu Yang said, yes, if he loves his son dearly, he wouldn't let him go to the Tianding Grand Meeting. If he doesn't love his son dearly, he wouldn't have spent more than 1,000,000 purple crystals on his son these few years. The two thought for a long time but still couldn't figure it out. They couldn't help but sigh. After all, we're not ambitious and ruthless. We don't understand the mindset of an ambitious and ruthless person at all. Chu Lu finally couldn't help but sneer. The two looked at each other in astonishment. Big brother, you're wrong, Chu Lu giggled. Chu Yang said modestly, what's wrong? Wei Wuyan also frowned. Could it be that you, a little girl, actually thought of something that neither of us could think of? Chu Lu laughed for a while and suddenly became dazed for a while as if she was going to cry. After a long time she sighed and said, Big brother, although you're from the Chu clan, you didn't grow up in the Chu clan. So, you might understand politics, battles or conspiracies, but you still don't understand what a clan is. It's the same for Big Brother Wei. So, the two of you are only from the martial arts world and not from the martial arts world. Chu Lu smiled sadly, but there was some mockery in her smile. I'd like to hear the details, Wei Wuyan said humbly. Chu Lu chuckled. Big brother, I'm still young and all these years, other than watching, I've been staying in the family. When I have nothing to do, I've started to analyze the kindness of everyone in the family, from my great-grandfather to the servants in our family. Then, I realized that no matter if you're in a high position or at the bottom of the hierarchy, everyone has their own kindness. No one can say that the other is despicable. Now that second uncle is dead, it's a little disrespectful to talk about it. But at that time, why was second uncle so unbridled? This was because his eldest uncle's son was missing. Whatever he did, it was the right thing to do. Because he had a son, a direct descendant. My father and fourth uncle couldn't compare to second uncle in terms of status, so second uncle continued to live like this. First uncle must know about what he did and auntie must be suspicious. Grandfather must know more or less about it. Even my father and fourth uncle must have heard about it through groundless rumors. But no one, including eldest uncle, said anything. What? Because the most important thing in the family is never kinship. Chu Lu smiled sadly. Perhaps in the family our mothers put their children first. But mothers are weak in the family after all. What they say doesn't count. In the family the most important thing is the inheritance, bloodline. The second thing to look at is the future, the family's future. It's not a person's personal future. Chu Lu's face was young and tender, but the words she said were so heavy that it made one unable to breathe. Wei Wuyan also looked at her in surprise. If these principles came out of the mouth of any adult, it would make one astonished at his talent and comprehension, let alone a little girl who said these words. So, the family tacitly allowed second uncle's family to be dominant. Even the servants and retainers were completely loyal to the Chu family. We definitely couldn't doubt this. But their loyalty was to the Chu family, not to the master of the Chu family. When the family was gone they were also finished. But when the master of the family changed they were still around. Second uncle had the ability and the means back then. Everyone thought that second uncle could bring the Chu family to a higher position. So, they supported second uncle. Everyone knew that eldest uncle was a good person, but they couldn't stand on the side of a good person. Because good people are often the ones who are sacrificed. Chu Yang nodded silently. So, big brother, although you have left the family now, when you return, you will realize that those who were originally loyal to second uncle are now even more loyal to you. And this loyalty is sincere. Don't doubt this sincerity. And these people, you can deal with them however you want. No matter how badly you deal with them, they will gladly endure it. As long as they can keep their status and lives. Chu Lu smiled. This is the family. Chu Yang nodded silently again. He couldn't help but admit that his sister's view was extremely reasonable. What she said was from the coldest point of view, but the principle she said couldn't be refuted by anyone, Looking at Chu Le, Chu Yang suddenly thought of a person. That person who specialized in scheming and plotting from the dark side of human nature, but was always successful. The master of calculation and manipulation, Mo Tianji. At this moment, Chu Yang suddenly realized that Chu Le and Mo Tianji were actually very similar. Especially scheming and plotting. Wei Wuyan was confused. He said, "We're talking about the Huang family. Why are you talking about the Chu family?" Chu Le smiled reproachfully, "So, Big Brother Wei, you're not a person in power but a very cute person." Chu Yang smiled. He knew that Chu Le was praising Wei Wuyan on the surface, but in fact she was saying that Wei Wuyan wasn't scheming and could only be used by others. He was a typical type of person. Wei Wuyan wasn't stupid. The corner of his mouth twitched. He glared at Chu Le and said, "You can just say that I'm not enlightened." Chu Le giggled and said, "The Huang family's matter is similar to the Chu family's matter. Clan Master Huang doesn't value his son Huang Xiaoyou, but because he only has one son. No matter what, he wants this inheritance. So, no matter what price he has to pay, he wants a direct descendant of the Huang family. As for Huang Xiaoyou, he's a playboy with a true temperament. This kind of person won't achieve much in his lifetime. To be honest, with Clan Master Huang Shang's cultivation, Huang Xiaoyou might have died of old age in a few decades when he's still in his prime. As long as the Huang clan still exists, this kind of thing where the white-haired person dies before the black-haired person will definitely happen. But if Huang Xiaoyou dies in the Tianding Grand Meeting, it'll definitely be different, Chu Le said affirmatively. Her eyes were full of helpless pity. I see. Chu Yang was enlightened, but he still let Chu Le continue. However, the more Chu Le said, the more disappointed Chu Yang was. He felt that this world was actually so ugly. Chu Le continued, Huang Xiaoyou dies in the Tianding Grand Meeting. What kind of place is the Tianding Grand Meeting? It selects law enforcement officers and determines the status of clans. Now that Huang Xiaoyou has died, he's only left behind 2 crying babies. In the future we'll teach them. What kind of sacrifice did your father make for our clan? Don't neglect this small matter. For children who haven't formed their minds yet, they'll be instilled with how great their father is. Then they'll work hard to cultivate. Until they're independent. And by then the Huang family will be stronger than it is now. Sacrificing Huang Xiaoyou, who has no future at all, in exchange for the prosperity of the Huang family. Chu Le said, it's not that Huang Shang doesn't have any affection for his son, but compared to the long-term interests of the clan, this affection is too weak. Anyway, Huang Xiaoyou can't play any big role in his current situation. His only role in this life is to set a great example for the future generations of the clan. Too cold? Chu Yang said solemnly. Wei Wuyan nodded in agreement, it's indeed too cold. I hope I'm wrong, Chu Le sighed softly. You only said to leave behind 2 babies, but didn't you think about what if these 2 babies are girls? Wei Wuyan asked. So, Huang Shang chose the Tianding Grand Meeting instead of the medicine banquet for Huang Xiaoyou. Chu Le sneered and said, there's still 1.5 years to the Tianding Grand Meeting. And it only takes 10 months for a girl to get pregnant. Wei Wuyan felt cold all over. He asked Chu Yang, this is a clan? Chu Yang sighed. After careful consideration he said, although I don't want to admit it, I have to say that 80% of Lu'er's speculation should be close to the truth. Wei Wuyan was stunned for a long time. Then he let out a sigh and said, fortunately I wasn't born in a clan. Chu Le and Chu Yang remained silent. Huang Xiaoyou's resigned, helpless and bitter eyes flashed in front of Chu Yang's eyes. He seemed to see Huang Xiaoyou saying to himself, boss, I'm actually just a dandy. My only mission is to carry on the Huang family's ancestral line. When I return home I'll work hard to be a good tool. Suddenly he felt extremely resentful. He's already resigned to his fate. He already wants to do everything according to your arrangements. Why do you still want to do this? Using his life to squeeze out the greatest value from him before and after his death? Is this still the relationship between parents and children? Huang Shang, why are you so cruel? You're so ambitious. Even if the Huang family dominates the heavens, what can you get from it? But Chu Yang only kept these in his heart. His current strength was not enough. He couldn't intervene in the disputes of such a big clan like the Huang family. Chu Yang only thought of that dandy's face, that tone of resignation and that expression of despair. He sighed deeply in his heart. If we meet at the Tianding Grand Meeting in the future, can I lend him a hand? The 3 of them walked on. Chu Yang was very silent all the way. After walking for a few hundred miles when they were camping at night, Chu Yang suddenly asked Chu Le, Sister what about you? What do you think of your future? Because at this moment, he suddenly thought of Yu Lingshua's words. If you really love and care for her, give her a future. Let her be all-powerful and look down on the world. Don't use your identity and love to bind her to an ordinary woman. Second update today. Chu Luer's future has troubled me for a long time. If anyone has any thoughts, you can share them in the comments section. Cousin went with me to Yin Tian's infusion. Cousin said that the money for the injection could be exchanged for 10 yuan. Why did you still have diarrhea? I was speechless on the spot. Damn it, if all the money was exchanged for 1-cent coins, I would die on the spot. Chapter 891. Future. Chu Luer looked at Chu Yang in confusion. Her expression also gradually became serious. Ever since she returned home, Chu Yang had never called her Sister Lu. He always called her Lu. At this moment when he called her Lu, Chu Luer felt a sense of solemnity, holiness and respect. Not bad, future. Chu Yang nodded heavily. Wei Wuyin stood up and smiled. I'll go hunt some wild animals to go with the wine. His figure flashed and disappeared without a trace. He could tell that Chu Yang and his sister were discussing some serious issues. And Wei Wuyin felt that he shouldn't listen to this issue. So he simply avoided it. The siblings who were deep in thought didn't notice Wei Wuyin's departure. Under the flickering bonfire, the siblings' expressions were a little serious. Chu Luer's expression was a little sad. Big brother, are you already planning for my future now? Chu Yang nodded and said affirmatively, Luer needs to be in charge of her own future. Chu Luer smiled and said, but big brother, I only have 2 years. And, we haven't found the 8 kinds of magical herbs that you mentioned. It's a little too early for me to worry about my future now. Chu Yang smiled. Under the bonfire, Chu Yang's smile was serious and solemn, full of trustworthiness. He said, Luer, you only need 1 or 2 kinds of herbs now. Chu Luer stood up in shock. She looked at Chu Yang and her whole body trembled. Big brother, why? You don't believe me? Chu Yang smiled and took out a small package. This is the absolute vine that third uncle risked his life to get back. Chu Luer looked at it, dumbfounded. Chu Yang took out the packages one by one. This is jade petal Ganoderma. This is heavenly jade mystical liquid. This is a flower. This is life pangolin. This is lifeless death water. This is earthing soul ginseng. Chu Yang laid them out in a row. There are a total of 8 kinds of magical herbs. We already have 7 kinds here. Now all that's left is the color lotus. Chu Luer's delicate body began to tremble like a willow in the wind. Her lips turned pale and she was on the verge of collapsing. She felt her legs go weak and she almost couldn't stand straight. She couldn't form a sound. Big brother. How did you find me? Chu Yang chuckled and said, Big brother, you're not called the black-hearted divine hand for nothing. He said, these medicines have been made using some methods. Perhaps they're somewhat shady. But, in the end he got it. Furthermore, there's only one thing missing. Tears blurred Chu Luer's eyes. Big brother, Chu Yang's face became extremely serious. I'm only telling you this today because I want you to know that your future is not limited to just these 2 years. You still have 100 years, 1,000 years and 10,000 years ahead of you. As long as you are willing, your future is limitless. My future is limitless. Chu Luer's tears dripped down. She said in a daze, so, I don't only have these 2 years left. Chu Yang smiled. Good sister, you still have a very long life ahead of you. Therefore we have to plan what you want to do in that long life of yours. Chu Luer was at a loss. Her body swayed and she almost fell down. The huge surprise, the long-awaited wish, was suddenly right in front of her eyes. She couldn't bear it at all. These days she knew that her 4th uncle, Chu Fian, had been going to the law enforcement bloodpayers' hall every day to inquire for information. She also heard faintly that out of the medicinal herbs that Huang Gong needed, how many of them were needed by her. But she never had any extravagant hopes, nor did she complain about anything. To this pitiful girl, to be able to live the remaining 2 years of her life without suffering was already an extravagant wish that she didn't even dare to think about. Chu Luer was already grateful that her big brother could let her live without suffering for 2 years. But she didn't expect that her big brother had actually gotten 7 of the 8 medicinal herbs that she needed unknowingly. It was said that the Chu clan couldn't afford those even if they sold all their fortune. For a moment, Chu Luer felt as if she was in a dream. Her body was floating and weightless. Chu Yang sighed tenderly. He pulled Chuler's petite body over and hugged her in his arms. He let her sit on his lap and gently stroked his sister's hair with his right hand to wake her up as soon as possible. After a long time, Chuler seemed to have woken up from a dream. She didn't say a word. Suddenly, she leaned into Chu Yang's arms and started sobbing silently. Her sobbing went from silent sobbing to soft choking, and then to loud bawling. Her voice was sharp and miserable, and there was also a kind of relief that she finally felt relieved. I finally escaped from the shadow of death. I can live on. Chu Luer cried until she almost couldn't breathe. She was like a little girl who had been wronged infinitely and had finally thrown herself into the warm embrace of her family. Chu Yang hugged her quietly and patted her gently, letting Chu Luer continue to cry. He knew that the pain and despair that Chu Luer had been suppressing in her heart for a long time was slowly being released and dissipating. After a long time. Big brother. I didn't say it before, but I'm very scared. Chu Luer sobbed and said. I'm very scared of death. Chu Yang's heart tightened. This sentence seemed to have squeezed his heart. Death, who wasn't afraid of death? Even an old monster who had lived for thousands of years would be afraid of death, let alone a little girl like Chu Luer who hadn't even started her life yet. If life was like a flower, Chu Luer was just a flower that had just sprouted. I'm scared that I won't be able to see all of you anymore. I won't be able to see Mother anymore. I'm scared. I heard that the world is completely dark and you can't see anything. There's no light, nothing at all. You can only walk alone, Chu Luer cried and her body trembled. Big brother. Every time I think of that kind of loneliness, I try my best to live on. I'm too scared. Too scared. There were a few times when I dreamed of it and it scared me awake. I didn't dare to sleep anymore. I'm really scared. Now you don't have to be scared of anything. Chu Yang's voice was full of confidence and full of Chu Luer's complete dependence. This made her hug her big brother's arm even tighter. Do you know who's in charge of that world? Chu Yang asked gently. Chu Luer's body trembled violently. She hid her little head in Chu Yang's arms and said softly, I heard that he's called the King of Hell. Yes, do you know what my nickname was before I came to the upper three heavens? Chu Yang's voice was suddenly full of dominance and arrogance, as if he was the ruler of the world. Big brother's nickname? Chu Luer raised her head curiously and said, I don't know. For some reason Chu Luer was instantly affected by Chu Yang's wild and domineering aura that ignored the world. The fear in her heart suddenly disappeared without a trace in her big brother's arms. She only felt incomparably warm and comfortable. At that time they all called Big Brother King of Hell Chu. Chu Yang laughed. His laughter was full of incomparable confidence. So impressive. Chu Luer blinked. In Chu Yang's gentle and firm voice, Chu Luer actually didn't realize that she had already stopped crying. Yes, so I'm the King of Hell. Chu Yang laughed. Chu Luer pressed her face against her big brother's chest and felt the strong and powerful beating of his heart in his chest. Suddenly she felt peace and happiness in her heart. In this embrace, she didn't have to be afraid of anything and didn't have to worry about anything. And this embrace was always open to her and would never cool down. Yes, Big Brother is the King of Hell. Chu Luer said softly and affirmatively, full of trust. When she said the two terrifying words King of Hell, she felt that she was no longer afraid. Yes, so I want you to remember it well. Chu Yang said word by word, I'm the King of Hell. If the King of Hell doesn't want you to die, then you won't die no matter what. At this moment Chu Yang's voice became resolute, like the sound of metal clashing, sonorous and powerful. These few words were full of trustworthy power, as if they were directly imprinted on Chu Luer's mind and turned into a brand that could never be erased. When Chu Yang said this, he used the unparalleled power of his spirit. Chu Luer nodded heavily. Big brother, I believe you. At this moment she really believed it and believed wholeheartedly, as long as Big Brother doesn't want me to die, then I won't die. And Big Brother will definitely not let me die. Since that's the case, what do I have to be afraid of? Now, do you have confidence in your future? Chu Yang smiled and asked as he pinched Chu Luer's little nose. Oh my Big Brother, you're so annoying. Chu Luer smiled shyly and nudged her little head in Chu Yang's arms. Tell me, what do you want to be when you grow up? Chu Yang said softly. When I grow up. Chu Luer snuggled in Chu Yang's arms and blinked her big eyes. When I grow up. She suddenly pursed her lips. There are few choices. Chu Yang looked at the flickering fire and threw in another bundle of firewood. Amidst the crackling sounds, a pine fragrance with smoke wafted out and the fire burned even brighter. The first choice is to be ordinary. Be an ordinary woman and grow up happily. Don't care about the responsibilities of the clan or the people of the world. Just find a reliable person and support each other in times of need, assist the husband and teach him and live through this life. Ordinary and vulgar but real. Although life is short, you'll enjoy family ties. From young to old, after seeing all the vanity of the world, you'll leave quietly. Chu Yang's voice was heavy as he said, "This is a path." Chu Le straightened her body from Chu Yang's arms. She brushed her hair and smiled. "Then what's the second choice?" Chu Yang looked at Chu Le's face steadily. After a long time he said, "The second choice is to choose the path of power. You'll use all your wisdom and schemes, and use your clan as a platform to seek benefits for the clan. You'll command thousands of troops step by step, and you'll have complete power and authority for the rest of your life." Chu Le smiled. "The third choice?" Chapter 892. Jiang took a deep breath. The third way is to choose the path of martial arts and devote one's life to arduous cultivation. To prolong one's life will be colorful but also lonely. It will be full of perilous situations and full of life and death. It's not certain when it will stop. Chu Le was silent for a while before she asked, "Big brother, is there a fourth way?" "The fourth way?" Jiang took a breath. "Yes. The fourth way of life is the path of the great Tao." Chu Yang swallowed his saliva and said with some difficulty, "The path of the great Tao is beyond the path of martial arts and the path of the heavenly Tao. The path of the great Tao has no end. If you want to walk on the path of the great Tao, you have to pay not only with hard work and sweat, but also with a firm belief. This path is the most difficult one and also the loneliest. When you walk halfway, you may find that the people around you have already fallen and disappeared. But you can't turn back. You can only keep walking forward even if there is nothing in front of you," Chu Yang said in a low voice. "Is there really nothing in front of me?" Chu Le bit her little finger and asked softly with the infatuation of a young girl. "Maybe there will be something, but everything in front will sooner or later become the scenery behind you," Chu Yang finished speaking in a low voice. He looked at the burning bonfire in a daze and said nothing. Chu Le took 2 steps outside and looked at the dark sky and the dark forest. She stood beside the bonfire and said softly, "Big brother, you know me too. I've been suffering since I was born. I grew up in pain. Other people may not be able to experience pain in 10 generations, but I can experience it several times in a month." Chu Le smiled bitterly. "Most women in the world will choose the first way, to be a good wife, find a home and live the rest of their lives. But I've suffered so much in my life and suffered so much pain, but it's not to be a good wife, but to take the most ordinary path." Chu Yang said in a low voice, "Then the first way is no. No. The second way is the path of power. I don't want to participate in the struggles of the clan. No matter what, we're still blood-related. Just thinking about that kind of situation makes me feel scared," Chu Le said calmly. Chu Yang sighed. "In that case, the second option is also off the table. No. The third path, the path of martial arts." Chu Le smiled sweetly. "Big brother, since there's a path that transcends the path of martial arts, why should I choose this path that's obviously one level lower?" Chu Yang said helplessly, "The third option is also rejected." "No." Chu Le smiled mischievously. "Then there's only the fourth option left," Chu Yang said. "So I don't need to choose." Chu Le laughed. "The fourth path is filled with hardships. It's the loneliest and the loneliest path, but there will always be people who take it. Although the front will become the back, the scenery is still the scenery. The unknown scenery is the most attractive because I never know what I will encounter in the next moment. Who knows if there are any companions in front of me? The path of the great Tao. Since they had walked on this path, which one of them wasn't outstanding? All the geniuses and eternal legends since ancient times are on this path." Chu Le said softly, "If I speed up and take a few more steps, I might surpass a legend. Every time I surpass a legend, it's an achievement." Chu Le's eyes shone brightly. "Big brother, I like this kind of achievement." Her face seemed to be glowing under the light of the fire. Chu Yang let out a long sigh. It seemed as if all the feelings and concerns in his chest had been released in this sigh. "Good," Chu Yang shouted. Then he stood up. "Since that's the case and Lur has identified your path, I only want to say one thing. Don't regret it in the future." Chu Le said firmly, "I won't regret it." She raised her small chin, which was sharp and carried a kind of determination. because this is my own path. If I regret it, no one will regret it for me. Chu Yang looked at her quietly for a while and said, I still have 3 paths here. 3 more paths? Chu Lu'er turned her head in surprise. 3 paths of the Great Tao, said Chu Yang. Big brother, please tell me, said Chu Lu'er. I will choose carefully and carefully. Chu Yang took 2 steps slowly and said, the first path is a kind of martial technique that follows the rules and has the least number of forks. As long as you persevere, you will be able to keep moving forward. This is also the path that most people in the current world have chosen. The second path? Chu Lu'er frowned. The second path is to take a shortcut. I know of a martial technique that follows the path of pure yin in the female body. Then, one can take elixirs of the heavens and the earth and continuously improve. After improving to a certain level, one can start to return to the right path and move forward step by step. This path is also the path of the Great Tao, said Chu Yang. Chu Lu'er frowned again. Big brother, what you mean is that the second path is only different at the beginning, but after a period of time, one will return to the first path. Yes. Chu Yang looked at her steadily. This is also the fastest and most reliable method for female cultivation. What about the third path? Chu Lu'er asked softly. I hope that you will choose from the first 2 paths. Chu Yang opened his mouth but still said it. But, big brother, your sister isn't an ordinary girl. Chu Lu'er smiled gently, but there was a stubborn persistence in her tone. Shameless. Chu Yang chided with a smile. But he hesitated. Big brother? Chu Lu'er urged. The third path is an evil path. Chu Yang was a little reluctant but still told her the truth. Your body has been through all kinds of torture, and coupled with the innate poison, it is already different from ordinary people. Once cured, you will have an innate poison spirit body. Innate poison spirit body? Chu Lu'er blinked. That means that I can cultivate poison techniques faster. That's right. Chu Yang said, I have the poison scripture here. However, this martial technique is a hindrance to a female's reputation. So, I don't want you to cultivate poison techniques. Chu Yang sighed deeply. If you choose the first 2 paths, I will completely change your poison spirit body when I treat you and let you have a mysterious yin body. Your progress will not be slower than that of a poison spirit body. Chu Lu'er thought for a while and said, since the poison spirit body is a gift from the heavens, how can it be changed so easily? Besides, I have suffered for so many years before I finally saw a glimmer of hope. Once my body is changed, won't all the hardships I have suffered since I was born be in vain? Won't all my previous efforts be wasted? Chu Yang reached out and held Chu Lu'er's hands. He looked deeply into her eyes. You are my sister. I hope that you will live a happy life. Even if you walk the path of the Great Tao, I hope that you will have someone to accompany you, love you and cherish you. After all, I am just a big brother. I can't accompany you for your whole life. And, once you cultivate poison techniques, your reputation will be damaged and it will have an indelible impact on a woman's reputation. Who in the world would be willing to marry a woman who is full of poison? This matter has to be considered. What I mean is, you can walk the path of the Great Tao and also enjoy the pleasures of the world. It is the best of both worlds. Do you understand what I mean? Chu Lu'er hugged him and said softly, Big brother, I understand. But if there is really such a person in the future, that person only cares about being orthodox but can't accept my poison techniques. Such a narrow-minded person, even if I don't cultivate poison techniques, will you be at ease if I entrust my life to such a narrow-minded person? Chu Yang was shocked. Good. When your body recovers, I will teach you poison techniques. Chu Lu'er was overjoyed. She hugged his neck and kissed his face fiercely. Big brother is a good person. She thought, Big brother, since I have the poison spirit body, how can I not cultivate poison techniques? Besides, I started so late. If I cultivate according to the rules, when will I be able to help you? Only poison techniques, even if my cultivation is low, can be a powerful deterrent at certain times. After I cultivate poison techniques, you won't have to work so hard to take care of me. Chu Yang felt the soft touch of Chu Lu'er's lips on his face and couldn't help but feel happy. He thought, at the end of the day, I still have too many concerns. I am the Tribulation Sword Master and need strong support by my side. If Lu'er cultivates poison techniques, she will definitely be a great help to me in the future. But I am worried about my reputation. I am worried that people will accuse me of making use of my sister to achieve my hegemony and even make use of her to cultivate a poison spirit body. I am thinking too much. As long as I have a clear conscience, what does it matter if Lu'er cultivates poison techniques or not? What does what others say have to do with me? The great Tao is boundless. The so-called poison techniques are just another path to take. Thinking of this, he calmed down immediately. Once his thoughts were clear, he actually felt that his state of mind was a little unstable. Vaguely, there seemed to be signs of a bottleneck loosening. He suddenly understood. Actually, having a clear mind is also a way to cultivate swordsmanship. There is nothing that is stagnant. The sword will naturally reach everywhere. Yang chuckled. He stretched out his hand and the 7 types of elixirs on the ground entered the tribulation space. He stood next to the fire and suddenly, crisscrossing sword aura covered his body. The sword aura moved left and right, up and down, fluttering chaotically. Wei Wuyin, who had been far away, felt something and hurried over. He couldn't help but be shocked. He saw that the sword aura on Chu Yang's body was crisscrossing, and a faint dense aura spread out. The sword aura whooshed out, but it seemed to be controlled by an invisible hand. It wandered around but didn't hurt anything. Finally, all the sword aura suddenly soared into the sky and formed a slender long sword shape above Chu Yang's head. A clear sword sound was emitted from this invisible sword aura, like the cry of a phoenix in the sky. The sword aura disappeared and entered Chu Yang's body. Wei Wuyin clearly felt that Chu Yang's sword sovereign level had increased by another level at this moment. Because his whole person's spirit was completely different from before. It was sharper and more unscrupulous. Originally, the sword was in the scabbard, but now it was half a foot out of the scabbard, revealing its sharpness. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.